Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Joel Moran and I'm here with Andrew Velez, Joel Dehls, and this is now episode 161. In this episode, we are going to debate whether or not Russell Wilson makes the Broncos Super Bowl contenders, talk about Aaron Rodgers staying in Green Bay, Carson Wentz being traded, and preview the offseason for the NFC East and NFC West teams. A quick Patreon shout out to Nicholas, Gentile Drew, Cade MVP, Mark, SP4Z Shot, Jordan, Evan, Dylan, Joel is the GOAT, Mayo, Andre, Peter, Daniel, Biggie, Boston Boy, Ben Riley, Mickey, William, Tyler, Ruthless Rootster, Sensei Stevie, Joel, SA Crimes, Kevin, Eagle Dalla, Tizzy, Corey, Get Funkoed, Dylan, Playboy, Orlando, Big Chuck, Michael, Greg, Cole, Liam, T Grove 17, Tua Sucks on Ka, Ryan Barcelona, Epic Lankiness, Travis, Aaron, It's Black Ace, Anthony, BJ, PJs, Langston, Jazzy Juice, Johannes, Ruben, Dave, Muffins, John, Sean, Burner Hoops, Court Cousins, P. Dot, George, Hikari, Mateen, and Jay Aqua.
Good old Jay Aqua. Let's do it, boys.
So, last week we planned to do 2 episodes this week just to make up for the one we missed last week, and it was unintentional, but who knew that we actually needed to do 2 episodes because of the amount of breaking news that happened. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I left Monday here. Well, this is my house, so I didn't leave here, but we finished the show off Monday, and I'm not going to lie. I felt tension still. The debates, the Jimmy Garoppolo versus Carson Wentz, the Kyler Murray stuff, the Lamar Jackson. I came out of that show like, I hate these guys. I hate these guys.
Because we're right.
And now I was thinking about it earlier today because I'm like, man, we got to do a show today. Usually when we get into these debates, we wait a week, things simmer down. But now, no, we're here 2 days later, and some news happened regarding your Broncos that I know I'm gonna walk out of here hating you guys again. So
both of us or just him?
I don't know.
He's gonna be way more obnoxious than me.
I told you this last time, bro. I told him this was on the basketball episode. I said you guys team up on me, bro. It doesn't matter.
I really don't, bro.
Look at the comments on YouTube, especially.
People have
what
that,
I noticed?
You say some ridiculous stuff.
No. You know what when I noticed it? The Buffalo Bills offseason preview, when I talked about Gabe Davis.
I was on your side.
He was on your side.
You wasn't, though.
No, but that...
See, that's
you
the thing.
guys were on
I don't...
me.
Listen, it's not a tag.
I was the only one...
When I agree with you, I agree with you. It's facts. However...
I feel like it's a gauntlet
When you
match.
say something outlandish... And anyways, listen, have I ever complained about you and Riv tag teaming me on basketball? No, because I sit here and I do my job. Also,
that's because you have JC. JC backs you up.
I'm not going to lie. JC definitely does do right.
When it's 3 people... I have nobody on my side. If somebody decides to tag team, you have nobody.
Listen, to be fair, this last season, me and Drew were right more often than they were wrong.
The only thing you guys were right about was the Rams.
Only thing.
I swear.
Only thing.
Well, notable ones was the Rams. I swear to God.
The biggest thing of the season,
okay, but fair. I agree with you, but predicting who's winning the Super Bowl is like a shot in the dark, bro.
It wasn't a shot in the dark. There was a lot of facts to back that up.
There was a lot of facts to back it up. I agree with you, but there's a reason why if you bet on it before the season starts, you could win a lot of money because it's usually a shot in the dark. A lot of things
happen.
But you said Colts was making it out the AFC. They didn't make the playoffs.
You pushed me into that wall that I really didn't care because it was. I honestly
not according to TikTok.
Facts.
So
facts.
What matters?
Yeah, that's fact. I'll make you guys look good. You know what I'm saying?
Man. Appreciate that, bro.
But I don't know who was right or not. Maybe we have to have a take meter or something.
That'd be tough.
I don't know.
But some of the stuff you say is just ridiculous. Like the Kyler stuff is crazy. The Jimmy G and Wentz, Jimmy G being this huge upgrade is crazy. What else we get into last week?
That was really the bulk of it, though.
And and the Broncos. I'm sure we're getting to a nice debate.
Listen, I'm not getting aggravated. There's no reason for me to be mad.
You gotta be flying high right now.
I am. Look, listen. We're gonna get into this segment for sure in a bit.
Oh man.
I will say, look, I'm your friend. I'm happy for you.
We're boys.
You're a Broncos fan. I'm happy for your success. But my take on it is going to be something you're not going to like. And I know it's going to be something you're not going to like. And we'll get to it in a bit. But first off, I just want to, give a shout out to you guys because I woke up today and Pick a Side was at 15,000 subscribers on YouTube. And the reason why I want to thank you guys so much is because I get anxiety sometimes over it and how, what if the next video doesn't get as many views? What if people just decide to stop watching us? What if all this happens? So all that gives me anxiety, and the fact that I see on a consistent basis that people continuously show love and support the podcast, even reaching out like on other platforms like Twitter or Instagram and say they love the show. I really appreciate it because this is something that, I've talked about it with you guys. I've talked about it with my family as well. Like, this is something that's rare. Like, what we're doing is not something that is easily replicated, and there's a lot of luck involved, and we're in a lucky position, in a fortunate position to be in.
No doubt, man.
Where we're at right now, just the following that we've amassed over these past couple of months and years, it's truly a blessing, and I appreciate everybody out there that tunes into us.
Of course, and we appreciate you, bro. You're the captain of this ship,
yeah,
and
thanks.
If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here.
That's a fact.
Appreciate it. Somalian.
Can't get fixated with the numbers, though. You got to remember, we're doing this for the love of it.
That's true.
Right? That's really true. Ultimately what allows me to come here, sit here, and be as relaxed as I am. I know that I love sitting here talking to you guys about the games that I love. And that's what really makes it easy for me.
Before we were going to start, I was going to tell you guys about something I watched today. It's actually a show.
Okay. It's
called The Dropout. It's on Hulu. And it's about this woman, her name is Elizabeth Holmes, who founded this company called Theranos. And she right now is facing trial on a criminal fraud because she wanted to invest a device to make it easier for blood test.
Okay.
I think that's what it is.
Like diabetes or something?
Yeah, blood test. Yeah, something like that, because she thought that the people that right now are running those things, it's outdated. So she started out with good intentions, but she needed investors. And the device, it wasn't ready yet, but she basically scammed these investors and she fluked a trial. So these guys thought it worked, but it didn't work. And she was too far in to the point that she was making her employees they would give these devices to people that actually had cancer and diabetes and needed it.
And it didn't work?
Yeah, and she knew it didn't work, and she was giving it to them just because she wanted to save face. And the show basically goes through it all and how, her story is called The Dropout, I believe, because she dropped out of college. She dropped out of Stanford to do this. And it's crazy, bro, but she's on trial right now for, she's actually not on trial. She's about to get sentenced.
Oh, so she's toast.
Yeah,
so
she's
found
done.
guilty.
Yeah, she's done. Yeah. Yeah.
That is pretty crazy.
It is crazy. I was watching it with my dad today.
Do you know what it was that she was doing that was newer than what already happens? It's because what already happens is a finger stick. They put a needle in your finger. They have this device that transfers the blood over into the actual technology that gives you your glucose level. Exactly. So what is it exactly new?
Well, from the show, what I saw was that they put a droplet of blood on this cartridge that she developed, and you would just put it in the machine.
Into a big machine, or is it a handheld device?
It's like this big.
Interesting, because
it's
that's
not
already
that big.
I don't know what we do in the hospital. I don't know. How many years ago was this?
About 10.
Okay, because there's essentially the technology that she was trying to use now already, but even more handy, I guess I should say.
Yeah, because when I watched the show, they had scenes of people in line getting the first iPhone.
Oh, really? Oh, so this
first
is old.
iPhone.
So
Yeah, so
3.
People might have just got her idea and ran with it.
Definitely.
After she got sentenced or put on trial, but yeah, it's a pretty interesting story.
That is
sure.
pretty
Sounds
crazy,
good.
though. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting story. So let's get on to the first segment of
Let's
the
go.
episode. Russell Wilson, he was traded to the Denver Broncos, and the Broncos gave up Shelby Harris, Noah Fant, Drew Lock, 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders, and a 5th-round pick. And the Seahawks received Russell Wilson and a 4th-round pick.
Other way around, but yep.
No, the Broncos received.
There you go.
Oh, yeah, the Broncos received Russell Wilson and a 4th-round pick. Now, this move people always have been saying the Broncos are a quarterback away. They're a quarterback away. They're a quarterback away. Now, does Russell Wilson make the Denver Broncos Super Bowl contenders? I'll start with you, Drew.
So before we get into the extreme part of the conversation, let's talk about yesterday. So yesterday, you guys know I'm a nursing student. I'm in class, so I'm not looking at my phone. Doing CPR training, really trying to make sure if someone codes, I'm on it. I'm learning that stuff. So it's like 2:30. I look at my phone. Oh, my God, and I have messages galore. My friend Kevin, you know Kevin, of course. Kevin Schmidt, shout out to you, bud. And I'm sorry. He's a Seahawks fan. And I get a text from him. He's like, good luck this season. Take care of him. We got to go out to a game this season. And he didn't mention his name. But automatically, I know what he's talking about. My mind starts to race. I'm freaking out at this point. I go to the next group chat. I see Riv, Russ to Denver. No way. In that moment, my mind is just bouncing back and forth like Atari. I'm really ready to freak out. I go to my teacher. I tell her I have to use the bathroom. I sprint out of the building. I'm out of the building because I know there's no part in that building that they couldn't hear me. I go on the phone immediately. I call my brother Charles, and I start losing my mind. I go to Twitter, and I see 30 to 40 messages from the Pick a Side family just happy that Russell is coming to Denver, and they're happy for me. I had a moment that I really was so overjoyed. I cried. I was so happy. I've been waiting for great news from my Broncos for 6 years. I couldn't be too upset. The last time we were in a position to win, we did win, 2016. And with Peyton Manning retiring, going off into the sunset. So I can't be overly mad. 6 years. There's teams that haven't had an opportunity to even go to the Super Bowl. So I was patient. As a Broncos fan, I understood. Listen, I had my time in the sun. It's going to be a few years until we're back. But we were building in the right direction. And I was always adamant, we get a quarterback, we're right in business. But that had always been our hiccup. We went through 10 starting quarterbacks in that time. But now we're at number 11, and this one's going to be here for at least 7-8 years. Russell Wilson is coming to Denver, and it still feels like a dream to me. I cannot wait for opening day. I said it on the TikTok that you nicely posted for me. 100% I will be posted up in Mile High to see his home opener. Because this is the most excitement Broncos have felt in a long, long time. Even after we won the Super Bowl, we went 5-0. We still felt great, but there was still something missing. Payne left the organization. There was a hole that was left once he left the building. Now we have Russell Wilson coming to take over this offense with Nathaniel Hackett newly coming in as a young head coach who's definitely one of the more admired young offensive-minded head coach, unless you're talking to my friend Joel Moran over here. And now you pair him with Jerry Jeudy, Cortland's son, Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler. Hopefully he comes back to start the season. We traded Noah Fant, which hurts. He's definitely a good piece, but in the grand scheme of things, I do this trade with my eyes closed. Shelby went the world to our defense in the locker room for sure, and we're going to miss him on a leadership role. But the deal that we got done, I do it 10 times over. Because look at the blueprint that the Rams laid out. Forget about the picks. Let's go all in to win now. Go get your quarterback, because ultimately, if you don't have the quarterback, you're not winning a thing. And Denver has been the epitome of that for years on years on years. So now we take 2 firsts, we trade them. A good first-round pick by that fact. The 9th overall pick. Take next year's first. You take this year's second. You take next year's second. And you take 2 starters and Drew Lock. Drew Lock, adios. Don't let the door hit you with a good Lord split you. Goodbye. Noah Fant, it hurts, but Albert O is going to be perfectly fine. He's definitely was a serviceable number 2 tight end that just did not have the opportunity to show his true talents. And Shelby Harris, that interior presence that he gave for us is going to be missed. But we can pick someone up off in the offseason that could fill that, not fill it to the way that he did, but enough. Now you have Russell Wilson coming into this offense, who has been nothing short of spectacular basically his entire season. And last year was his career worst of QBR. he missed time. He had an injured finger. Seahawks offense just wasn't what it normally was. For some reason, things weren't clicking. Now he's coming into a new environment where he has new motivation with a great young core, with a better offensive line. It is an exciting time to be a Denver Broncos fan, and I cannot wait. Now, to answer your question, Super Bowl contenders. Does it make us Super Bowl contenders? Sure. Of course we're Super Bowl contenders. Defensively, offensively, we have limited holes. Offensively, our biggest hole is right tackle. Tight end, I don't look as a hole right now because Alberto, I understand his potential. He's a fast tight end, could be a little bit of a better blocker, but he has solid hands for a tight end, and he's fast, which is great. Receiver-wise, we have no holes. We have depth at the wide receiver position. Running back-wise, Javonte Williams is one of the best young running backs in the league. And in this class, he's, in my opinion, going to be the best running back in his class, including Najee Harris. Now, defensively, we spoke a little bit before the show. We still have some money to make things work. I believe we have $29 million in cap right now. Now, we've been in talks to bring in Von Miller. Bobby Wagner is newly released. He's going to want a contract, rightfully so. He's one of the best, if not the best, linebackers in the NFL still. We are going to be left with the choice of bringing in one of the two. I don't think we will be put in a position to sign both. And the cornerback position, we're probably going to lose Callahan, and we're probably going to lose Kyle Fuller. But Pat Surtain, regardless of what people might say about him, is going to be a superstar in the NFL. Whether it's not next season, the year after that. He is a stellar talent with amazing upside. Our number 2 corner is Ronald Darby, and that's where we could probably upgrade for sure. But I'm not fully panicking over Ronald Darby being my number 2 option. We're going to have Justin Simmons over the top, and I do believe Kareem Jackson will come back. But in my opinion, I would rather bring back Vaughn than have Bobby Wagner because there are cheaper linebacker options that are available. Devondre Campbell's an option that I'm looking at that we could potentially get for a cheaper price tag.
I don't know if it's going to be cheaper.
He just made an all-pro.
Cheaper than Bobby.
He's younger, too. He'd probably want a long-term deal.
Do you think Bobby's going to cost less than Campbell?
They'll be about the same.
They're in the same price range.
And the reason I say Vaughn is because, one, he's homegrown. He's been our guy forever. He's been the best player on our team for however many years he's been on our squad. And we let him go. Thank God he won a championship, and now he has that resolution there that he doesn't have to feel a remorse where he's already shown that he's more than open to come back. I'm looking at a defense that was top 3 in total points, top 3 in yards last season. And you and I spoke a little bit before that. Is there going to be a hiccup now that Fangio's gone in the defense? Let's say it's not as good, right? There's no way I can look at it and say we're going to be anything outside the top 10. Sure, maybe we won't be top 3, but we'll still be a top 10 defense. We bring in Von Miller or bring in Bobby Wagner, Devondre Campbell. Then we're really set. Because cornerback-wise, Surtain can take that leap. Darby as our number 2 isn't the greatest option, but he's a solid option. Michael Ojemudia is a solid option. Justin Simmons is one of the best safeties in the league. Offensively, I have no concerns. Now you bring me Russell Wilson, I have absolutely zero concerns. We're going to be one of the better offenses in the league. Get ready for a Jerry Jeudy breakout year. I've been waiting. I've been saying, you get him a quarterback, he's going to break out. 100% I believe he's going to be excellent this season. Courtland Sutton couldn't get the chemistry right with Teddy Bridgewater. Now that Russell's there, Courtland is right back in the mix of being one of the better wide receivers in the league. Tim Patrick has been exciting for us with Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock. Now you give him Russell Wilson. That's something to look out for. KJ Hamler is a burner. You give him Russell Wilson with one of the best deep balls in the league. That's something to look forward to. Javonte Williams was a stud last season for us. Now you give him Russell Wilson. That's only going to increase his level of play. Broncos are a team to look out for, and no doubt we are Super Bowl contenders.
Russell Wilson going to Denver makes them one of the more exciting teams in the NFL.
And cool.
Offensively, they're going to have a top 10 offense in the NFL. They can push top 5. Do I think that just in their division, though, just look at it in their division, I don't think offensively Denver is going to be better than KC or the Chargers next season. I think the Chargers, they already built one of the better offensive lines in football. Mike Williams is back. Keenan Allen is back. They got to get a tight end, but they have top 5 most cap space in the NFL. The Chargers are going to make big-time moves. They just have to work on that defense. But to talk about the Broncos, listen, Russell Wilson was a great get. He's been one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL for the last couple of years. For the last 10 years, you can argue. I love Russell Wilson. Since 2018, 131 touchdowns to 31 interceptions, 106 passer rating. Also, since that time, he's been 1-3 in his last 4 playoff games. And you can argue that early in his career, when he made his most damage in the playoffs, it was because he got carried by the Legion of Boom. I look back to the NFC Championship game versus the Green Bay Packers. He threw 3 interceptions in that game. Russell Wilson, in the playoffs, even though he has a 1-3 record, 5 touchdowns to 1 pick. The only game he played bad in was versus the Rams. He completed 40% of his passes. That was one of the worst performances I've ever seen from Russell Wilson. But he's been dealing with the terrible offensive line for the majority of his career in Seattle. Now, does this make them Super Bowl contenders, the Denver Broncos? I'm not ready to go there yet. I'm just not. And the reason why is because we always talk about the Broncos are a quarterback away. They're a quarterback away. But their roster is similar to the roster that Russell Wilson would have had in Seattle had he stayed. It's even similar to the roster they had this past season. The Broncos' offensive line was ranked 19th. Seattle was 25th. The Broncos' offensive line was slightly better. The Broncos had 8 different inside linebackers play 60% of snaps, and they had the worst pass rush win rate in the entire NFL. Football Outsiders ranked them 20th in DVOA and 21st in weighted DVOA. Seattle's defense ranked 21st in DVOA and 19th in weighted DVOA. So their defense, although the sheer basic stat rankings show you the Broncos are this great defense, using advanced stats, it shows their defense was similar to Seattle's. And Vic Fangio, who's a defensive guru and genius, who the reason why they were able to get sacks and they were able to manufacture pressure was because of his blitz schemes. He's not there anymore. And they were also 27th in run stop win rate. Aaron Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Every single season, for the most part, why doesn't he win? We all say it's because, for the most part, his run defense has been awful. The Broncos are 27th in run stop win rate. Teams can run all over the Broncos. And last year, the rankings, 3rd in yards, 8th in yards, 3rd in points, 8th in yards allowed. They only played 4 teams that finished top 10 in offense last year. KC,
twice.
Chargers,
twice.
Cincinnati, and Dallas. They got torched by every single offense outside of Dallas, and that was the game.
KC didn't torch us.
And that was the game that Dak came back from his injury. I still give the Broncos credit. It was a great game. When I look at the Broncos, they have an overrated defense, an average offensive line. The offensive weapons are worse than what Russ had in Seattle. And between Nathaniel Hackett and Pete Carroll, Hackett is still a wait and see. I don't know how good he is. I'm not a big fan of Pete Carroll, but I can bet that Pete Carroll is at least a better coach from what he's shown me in the past. The only real upgrade is at running back and tight end. But you're right. The Broncos have $26 million in cap space. It's a what if. It's a wait and see right now. Currently constructed, if you guys don't make any big time moves, and with the draft picks you guys have, George Pan has to hit on these later round picks. And if he doesn't, then...
You mean GM of the year already? Early
They
candidate?
have 3 to 4 picks in the top 100 still.
Yeah, but the first one is like in the 67th
64.
pick. Yeah, so,
You can get a starter there.
They're still they're day 2, day 3 picks, so that's hard to hit on consistently. Most teams only hit on maybe 1, 2.
We could probably look at corner there too.
The Broncos are not Super Bowl contenders. They're not better than the Chiefs. They're not better than Chargers. Hell, if Russell Wilson would have stayed in Seattle, he would have had an easier road to the Super Bowl than him going to the AFC. He has to play the Chiefs. He has to play the Chargers. He has to play Cincinnati. We can't sleep on Baltimore. Tennessee is going to be in the mix. Buffalo is going to be in the mix. Russell Wilson is the third best quarterback in his own division. And you can argue in the conference, he's the sixth best quarterback in the conference. I'm going with Mahomes, Allen, Herbert, Burrow, and Lamar over Russ. Because of that, he doesn't make the Broncos automatic Super Bowl contenders. This isn't like Tom Brady going to Tampa Bay in 2020. It's not like Matthew Stafford going to the Rams in 2021. This move isn't that. And we've seen in the last 2 years, when a team has made a big-time move for a quarterback, they have made the Super Bowl. They have won it. Russell Wilson is under that type of pressure. I just don't view the Broncos as Super Bowl contenders.
What this past season taught me in 2021 is you just need one thing to be a Super Bowl contender. You need to have an elite quarterback. That's the only thing that matters. Did the Bengals have holes? They had a terrible offensive line. They didn't have a good pass defense. They didn't have a good linebacking core. They were ranked, 25th offensive line?
They did have a good linebacking core.
No, 29th.
29th?
Something like that.
Or if you look at the Rams, who didn't have a great linebacking core.
Logan Wilson's really good.
They weren't perfect. The Rams weren't perfect. And even the Chiefs, who struggled early on the season, it picked up down the road. But every team's going to have holes. And when I look at the teams that have the best odds to win the Super Bowl, the Bills, Chiefs, Rams, if you want to think the Bengals are going to go back, or the Broncos, they all have one thing in common. They all have elite quarterbacks. And at the end of the day, that's going to make up for any hole you have. And you've listed out some good points. And, that's a very contradictory stand to say the Broncos aren't going to make the Super Bowl. And I give you credit for that.
It's an objective
because
one.
a lot of people are going to not overreact, but everyone's going to be on the side of the Broncos just got an all-time quarterback. Of course they're going to go to the Super Bowl. And I do agree to an extent. Because if Russ stayed in Seattle, he would have had an easier path. Because he doesn't have to go through this gauntlet of quarterbacks like the guys you've mentioned. I still think it's borderline ridiculous to put him clearly below Burrow or Lamar. If you want to put Herbert, Allen, and Mahomes, that's more than fine with me.
We can still have that conversation.
You're making some great points right now, but I just want to challenge this real quick. You're mentioning the Rams. You're mentioning the Bengals. The Rams had, for one, their offensive line's elite. It was a top 3 ranked offensive line this past season. You had Cooper Kupp, who had the best wide receiver season of all time. On the defensive line, you have the best defensive player we've ever seen in our lifetimes, along with Leonard Floyd. Sebastian Joseph Day isn't a slouch. Sebastian Joseph Day would be the best defensive lineman on the Broncos right now. You have the best cornerback in Jalen Ramsey. Their holes were minimal. Let's not act like their holes, they had a lot of holes.
Let's look at the Bengals.
The Bengals, they had one of the best run defenses in the NFL. They generated some of the most pressure. Awuzie ranked as one of the top corners this past season. He was very great. Jesse Bates is just as good as Justin Simmons.
Just as good as strong.
I think Justin Simmons is a bit better, but Jesse Bates is just as good. And Jamar Chase is a top 5 wide receiver already. The Broncos don't have, outside skill position wise. Let's talk skill position, defensive line, linebackers, corners, wide receivers. Who's elite on the Broncos?
Jerry Jeudy can be elite. Surtain can be elite. Justin Simmons is elite.
Garrett Bowles is a great tackle.
Von Miller, when he comes back, is elite.
This is what I'm saying, though. They have more.
He didn't say running back.
They have more what if holes on their roster. That's it. And I think the comparison to these other teams is unfair because those teams had established players.
But they've had holes, which every team's going to have. There's no such thing as a perfect team. That's not going to exist.
But the Broncos have holes. They have defense.
Yeah, just like every other team has holes.
What team that made it far in the AFC or NFC had a bad defensive line?
The Bengals had the worst offensive line, and they made it. First time ever.
Defensive line. That's not my question. I said defensive line.
So you're looking at the Chiefs, Bills,
Chiefs defensive line is Chris Jones.
Chiefs defensive line was great this past season.
Frank Clark wasn't good.
Melvin Ingram was a good addition.
He was. But he's a pass rusher. He's not someone who's going to be stuffing the run.
I mean, that's defensive line is that 4. Edge, defensive tackle, edge. Like that's what it is.
Again, we have some money. We're talking about it right now, and right now.
No, I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Now,
That's all I'm asking.
It's also not fair to talk about both
question.
these teams' offensive lines because the Broncos were the 9th best offensive line in terms of pass protection, while the Seahawks were 25th. So I know in terms of overall, they might have been similar, but pass protection, which has been one of the biggest problems on Seattle, and every year we say, how are they going to upgrade the offensive line? The Broncos already have that. If you have the offensive line with the quarterback, and I know some of their receivers are what-if guys because we haven't seen it yet from Judy. We've seen Sutton have really good years, and Tim Patrick and KJ Hamler, they're not
they have
on
upside.
They have upside. Obviously, not on the same level as guys like Jamar and T. Higgins and whatnot. But even still, as long as you are upgrading this team, which they have the money to do, I understand if you say they make no moves, okay, that's one thing. But they still have the 64th overall pick if they want to go and get a veteran. They have $25 million in cap space to get at least 2 impactful players. So if you go and get a Von Miller, now you have edge set with him and Bradley Chubb. Bradley Chubb coming off a bad year.
I don't think that's but this is the thing. I just told you they had the worst pass rush win rate in the NFL last season. Von Miller was there for half the season.
But then he left, and then that obviously made us worse.
And Bradley Chubb had a bad year.
He did.
Bradley Chubb is not that good.
And he missed games. He missed a lot of games.
Bradley Chubb is average. Von Miller and Bradley Chubb isn't scaring any team, bro.
Off last season, yes, it's okay to say he's average.
And you
but
lost
even
Shelby Harris,
before,
your best interior defensive lineman.
There's
We'll
one
be
thing
all
that
right.
matters. If you have an elite quarterback, name me one team that has an elite quarterback that's not a Super Bowl contender.
Well, based off last season,
No, going into next year. So the best quarterbacks, Mahomes, Super Bowl contender. Allen, contender. Herbert, you think they're going to be better, so you think they could come at least second. They're making the playoffs. Burrow, you just said Lamar was could be better than Russ.
you're absolutely right. But I think right now it's kind of a coincidence that most of the elite quarterbacks right now are on teams that have the roster to compete.
Because
we do have a roster to compete.
You need,
But I mean, look, we're going into this thing like back and forth, but my question was just about the defensive line.
I understand that. I'll take an elite quarterback over whatever defensive line.
Of course,
the whole
we're
conversation
talking about
is just
all
Super
around
Bowl
teams. I know we're talking about all around teams. And my question to you was, I haven't seen since I've been watching football a team with a horrible defensive line.
I've never seen a
Bowl.
team except the Bengals with a horrible offensive line make the Super Bowl.
But defensive line is very pivotal to a team's success.
Offensive line is just as, if not more, important.
I agree with you, but the Broncos are average in their offensive line still.
They were ninth best in pass protection.
They were
that's the case.
They were one of the worst ones. No, they were 19th.
You just
in
said
run
overall.
blocking.
And Javonte still looked great.
Exactly
Javonte looked electric.
This is what I wanted to say too. The fact that you have the 9th best pass blocking, right, which is only going to benefit Russell Wilson. And let's say our run blocking isn't as great, but Javonte Williams still showed that is not a problem. I'm not concerned.
He's great at breaking tackles. There's no doubt about it.
Arguably the best in the league.
Bobby
outside of
Massey
Derek.
was one of the better run blockers in the NFL. Pass blocking, he struggled.
He did.
He might go, so that might make your ranking even worse in terms of run blocking. Nathaniel Hackett's scheme, we can predict, is going to look similar to LaFleur in Green Bay. They ran the ball a ton. Aaron Rodgers is uber efficient because they run the ball and they do a lot of stuff off of play action. If the run blocking isn't there, that could damage that scheme.
Javonte, by the time halfway through next year, could be better than Aaron Jones. He might be better right now.
He might be.
I mean, listen, bro. You're like doing this, but like I'm just giving you the scheme wise.
Doing what though?
We're seeing
basically not reacting to my point. Like you're just talking to give your spiel, but you're not listening.
No, I'm listening. You're saying Denver has a hole at defensive line. I said, cool, that's great. I agree. They need to upgrade. But I'm saying I just saw a team with a huge hole as well on the offensive line make the Super Bowl. So all I'm saying is you do not have to have this perfect roster with every position filled with great players.
You don't.
You don't have to have a great quarterback, and you need to have weapons on the outside. The Broncos have both of those.
You don't have to have this perfect roster, but let's just look at the Bengals because that's who you mentioned. Offensive line was their only real hole.
That's one of the most important.
Oh, I get it, of course, but like just listen for a second. Their secondary was very great. They played great when it mattered against the top teams. Their defensive line was very great. DJ Reader, BJ Hill, Larry Ogunjobi, Trey Hendrickson, Sam Hubbard. I mean, right now, Ogunjobi and BJ Hill are on the market, and every team is trying to get these players because they're great. And yes, while the Broncos offensively don't have like holes because wide receiver, we know they have those receivers.
They have depth.
T. Higgins would be the best receiver on your team. Tyler Boyd would be the second best receiver on your team. I mean, he could be fighting for it. I'm just saying,
you're being rude.
The Bengals had elite receivers, elite receiving options.
Jerry Jeudy's going to show you
the Broncos right now, like, I put you guys in a tier of, like, you guys are really good, but you guys aren't elite. Like, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, that group they're game changers. And that's what I'm saying. And even if you want to talk about, like, a team doesn't have to be perfect all around for you to make a Super Bowl. But if you didn't think Russell Wilson was a contender with the Seahawks going into this upcoming season or even last season, then with the similar roster that he's going to in Denver, I don't know how you can think he's a contender right now.
It's not similar.
It's pretty similar across the board, bro.
Their secondary is not good. Their pass rush is not good.
DJ Reed was very good this past season. So was Sidney Jones for them.
Their pass rush was not good. Their secondary was not good. Offensive line, not good. Pass blocking, not good. Their receivers were good, sure.
Their secondary was good, though.
Who do they have?
DJ Reed, Sidney Jones, Jamal Adams, and Quadre Diggs, who made a Pro Bowl.
Let's see how much they were ranked. Quadre Diggs is solid, for sure.
I was just looking at DVOA because we brought this up before the show, and Denver actually
ranked... linebackers, Bobby Wagner and Jordan Brooks.
And Denver ranked ahead of Cincinnati in pass defense DVOA. So you want to talk about the secondary? They will lose some guys for sure, but they're going to be...
They're losing 3 guys. They could lose 3 guys, bro.
They could. I think they'll bring at least
Seattle
one back or bring somebody in.
Seattle was 31st in most yards allowed.
The defense was bad last year for Seattle.
That's what I'm saying.
It's been bad for 3 years,
I know,
really.
But their ranking all around is similar to Denver's, bro. That's what I'm saying is, like, I know that a team doesn't have
Seattle
to be
were
perfect.
Perennial playoff teams, 11 wins, 12 wins.
I know that a team doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah, they're a perennial playoff team.
Because of Russ.
The argument here is not if the Broncos are gonna be a perennial playoff team. The argument is if they're a contender for the Super Bowl. If we're talking about just making the playoffs, I mean, I make that decision with my eyes closed. I know the Broncos are going to be a playoff team.
Well, it seems like you're questioning it because you think the Chargers are going to be ahead of him.
No, I mean, 3 teams can make the playoffs in the division.
I'm saying
we haven't even mentioned the Raiders at all.
At this point, with the Russell Wilson addition, the Raiders are obsolete.
Yes. But I'm saying the Raiders made it over the Chargers.
Week 18 game. Win or go home.
And the Chargers gave a great game to the Bengals. I mean, excuse me, the Raiders played a great game against the Bengals in the playoffs.
No, I agree. I mean, look, the Raiders, Derek Carr, he's always going to keep them stable. But right now, like, we're talking about elite quarterbacks, and the Raiders don't have that. And the Chargers right now, their main problem last season was defense, and they have some of the most cap space in the NFL to fix that and go all in on it, even in the draft.
So you're saying the reason why Denver is not Super Bowl contenders is because of a bad defensive line and possibly losing guys in free agency in the secondary.
Bad defensive line, no linebackers. I don't trust the offensive line fully. Like, it's better than Seattle's.
They're ranked top 10 pass protection. That's pretty damn good.
That's the only thing that matters to me. I don't care about the run block.
I really don't care either.
Fine.
I really don't care.
I care about the run blocking if the scheme's going to be predicated around the run. That's what the scheme's going to be.
He's a bowling ball.
Bro, we
averaged some of the most yards per carry last season.
Okay, yeah, I understand that, but we've seen a guy in Saquon Barkley, who's one of the most talented players.
Games are different.
He's one of the most talented running backs of our generation, not be able to have success because the offensive line is not good.
And the thing is with Saquon Barkley is he's a flashy type running back. Javonte is running right through you. That's his vision. That's his game.
Run blocking matters with their scheme, bro. With the scheme Nathaniel Hackett is going to implement, it's going to matter.
And if you have Russell Wilson, you're going to be able to run the ball because everyone's going to be worried about a 50-yard pass to Jerry Jeudy or Cortland Sutton.
Definitely, you're going to... I feel like it might be a little bit of the opposite. I think they might get more stacked boxes if the run does work well.
Okay, and that's fine. They're going to win outside
one-on-ones. But all I'm saying, but like we're getting away from the original conversation. You mentioned...
Why don't you think they're going to be a Super Bowl contender?
I just gave you my whole spiel on it.
And all of that seemed, to me, in 2022 NFL football, you have a top 10 rated pass blocking offensive line. You have an elite quarterback, and you guys on the outside have shown flashes that they could be elite. Plus, you have arguably he could be a top 7 running back at the end of the season.
Okay.
You have that. You just need to have a complementary defense who maybe, sure, they don't rank perfectly, but if they could cause turnovers, get sacks, that's all I need to see. They don't need to be top 10 in rush defense and pass defense because every team's going to have a hole. If their hole is just they have an average defense, they're going to be more than fine.
Okay, this is the last thing I'm going to say, and then we'll move on. And you can rebuttal if you guys want to. How high does a team have to rank for you to consider them a Super Bowl contender? Do they have to be a top 3 team in the AFC? Do they have to be a top 4 team in it? Where do you rank them?
Well, let's look at it
Probably
like this.
top
The
5.
Bengals weren't even anywhere near our list for contenders last season. They made the Super Bowl.
Okay, but I'm just asking you just that question.
I would say,
where would they have to rank?
Probably 5.
I mean,
top 5.
Top 5?
agreed, because there's 7 teams now in the conference. You would probably say of those 5, yes, that's fair.
Okay, you're telling me right now the Broncos have like these weapons and they have all these other positions filled, right? Just off of receivers alone, just the weapons on the outside. Do the Broncos have better weapons than the Chiefs?
Nope.
Do they have better weapons?
Depth-wise?
Come on, bro.
It's Tyreek Hill and Kelsey for sure.
Come on, bro.
For sure.
Come on, bro.
But now you're
It's Judy and Sutton and KJ Hamler
and Tim Patrick and
Come on,
Javonte
bro.
Williams.
Come on, bro.
All right, that's going to be a
Come on, bro.
conversation. But go ahead.
Bengals,
No.
Bills.
Yes.
I'm not high on Gabe Davis, so to me it's just Diggs and Dawson Knox.
Okay. So you want to count them or you don't? It's up to you guys.
I'm saying I'm taking the Broncos.
Okay. So right now we have Chiefs, we have Bengals, Chargers.
Chargers.
Okay.
I would
Mike
take the
Williams,
Chargers.
Keenan,
Yep. I would
Eckler,
take the
Herbert.
Chargers.
Okay. And
Russ is going to change everything, and this conversation is going to be completely different halfway through the season.
now next team I can think of, the Ravens. Just think about the Ravens with J.K. Andrews in Hollywood.
Give me the Broncos.
That's really close.
Javonte's better than J.K.
I think I'm just projecting.
upside's
I would say
higher than
projecting. I'm
Hollywood's.
taking the Broncos because I think Russ is going to unlock Judy and make Sutton a really good number 2.
Judy is going to be incredible this season.
And
Gotta
Tennessee
clean up the
with
drops.
A.J., Julio, and Henry.
So AJ and
and
Henry.
Derek.
What I'm saying is
If you're taking Kansas City, you have to take.
Facts.
this is the point I'm trying to make. The position that is most loaded on the Broncos, that people are the most optimistic about in their wide receiving core and the weapons Russ has, doesn't even rank top 3.
But you're
within
just
the
you're
conference.
looking at
You're
all you
looking
said
at
was
star
weapons.
name. You're looking at star name. That's
You
what
said
you're looking for.
all you said was outside weapons. I'm taking Denver's offense over Baltimore's. I'm taking it over Tennessee.
Are you taking their offense over Buffalo, KC's, or Chargers?
No, not. I mean, it's going to be close, but like they're 4th right now for sure, at least.
That's the point I'm trying to make, though, is that we are so excited about the Broncos, but
Would it
you
surprise
aren't-
anyone if they have the best offense in the AFC next year?
it wouldn't surprise me.
That they
but
have
at
that upside.
But at this point, this is like my projection. We are looking at a team that is not even top 3 in terms of the offensive talent they have on their team, on their offense right now, compared to these other teams at the top of the AFC. The difference with Tom Brady when he went to Tampa Bay, once he went to Tampa Bay and they had Godwin, they had Evans, and they brought in Gronk, they're the best offense in the NFC. Their defense was mightily slept on. I was early to the party because I knew their defense was going to be good. This past season, with Matthew Stafford, who went to the Rams, with McVay's offense, with the offensive line, with the weapons, we were like, that's the best or second best offense in the NFC without a doubt. That's it. With the Broncos, we have to question it. And that's where my concern with the Broncos comes. So, and that's offense. That's the best part of their team. Defensively, I am expecting you guys to drop off.
It's now the best part of our team because for years and years and years, it'd been the worst part of our team.
You're right, but we're talking about now.
Because we just added Russell Wilson, our defense that was just top 3 in total points given up and top 10 in total yards. Now, because we add Russ, our defense is not as good as our offense.
I know what you're saying.
No,
Let's
no, hold up. I think my problem is not that your defense is not going to be as good as your offense. My problem is that I have a strong feeling that your defense is going to have a major drop-off next season.
And I'm going to stay confident with our guys.
I think
You don't just forget everything that you learned from last season just because Vic Fangio's gone.
Yeah, because
You
it's a
learn
different scheme.
You learn a thing or two from
you guys
the
aren't going
guy.
to be top 3, but you don't think they could be 15th best defense?
At the minimum. I'm not.
That's
I
all-
would
that's-
be
yeah.
utterly shocked if we're anything near that.
I think they'll rank 15, 18. That's where I think they'll rank.
And I even think they're more 15 to 12.
There's a lot of good defenses.
There.
And the Broncos are one of them.
But defenses just could change so much year to year.
They can, but those are my concerns, and that's why I wanted to give you guys a question of like, let's look at these top teams because we're not just talking about the playoffs, bro. We're talking about Super Bowl contention being
Correct.
the best.
We have depth.
The only teams
That's my
The only teams I'm putting above them right now are KC and Buffalo. They're right there. They're right there with the Chargers at 3.
It's going to be a conversation, and I'm not saying that because I'm wearing Denver gear and I don't like them. I'm being honest. You have Tyreek Hill, you have Kelsey. Those names are insane. Arguably the best tight end, top 5 wide receiver at the minimum. But the depth we have is going to make teams scared to play against us.
But they've been to 2 bowls, 4 conference
listen, fine. Which is why I understand you guys taking them. Because they have it. They've done it already.
You guys are sleeping on Gabe Davis. You guys are. I'm sorry.
You should be talking to me.
Who's
you guys
better?
are
No,
Gabe Davis.
I just have a question. Like, who's better, Gabe Davis or Tim Patrick?
Tim Patrick.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move
When
on.
Gabe Davis has 600 yards for the 3rd year in a row,
Bro,
while
Tim
being
Patrick
the wide
is one of the
receiver
most
2 with Josh
underrated
Allen.
low-key
I
wide
love Tim.
receivers.
I love Tim Patrick.
I don't know if you do anymore.
No, I love Tim Patrick.
was
but
kinda
I
rude.
think Gabe Davis.
Bro, look at
Gabe
what Tim
Davis-
Patrick has done with
Gabe Davis
mediocrity.
will go for 900 yards next season.
And Tim Patrick could go for 1,000.
I'm not saying 1,000 because like I'm trying to be a little bit cautious here, but he could go for 1,000 next year.
And Tim
I'll
Patrick,
take under 1,000.
And I'll take, okay, you want to make that bet? If he gets injured, this bet is off. though.
Obviously.
How many games does he have to play?
What do you mean? This is a full season.
Nah,
Well, no,
15,
if he misses 2 games,
You can play 15 and still
15.
get that.
Okay, I'll take that bet.
Okay, what do you want to put on it? You put
Yo,
100 with Drew.
Hold up, we totally forgot to even mention Cole Beasley for the Bills weapons.
Tim Patrick's better.
He's better.
Cole Beasley's one of the better slots in the NFL.
Yes.
though.
Again,
Tim Patrick's
yes,
better.
fine.
What do you want to? Let's do this Gabe Davis bet under 1,000.
How is Tim Patrick better than Cole Beasley though?
I think he's having
Carry
second.
He's
thoughts.
exciting.
No, bro.
Over
Let's
the
take
top
the bet.
balls.
What do you want to bet?
Do you want to
Burner.
do jersey? Or you just want to do 100? Under 1,000. This is okay.
That's a
Let's do it.
That's a good, interesting.
That's a good bet for you. Nah, bro. Honestly, we gonna have to.
Here he goes back.
He's scared. He's scared. The 100
Nah,
just came into play.
I'm really no.
Under
I'm
950?
thinking about the bet right now. I'm thinking about what could be the bet.
Okay.
I kind of want to make it more spicier than just money and then whatever. I want to make you regret what you're saying. I want you. Okay, you
I'm
know
on
what?
the Gabe Davis train, so
$50. And if Gabe Davis gets over 1,000, you give me 50. But you also have to come on the show and you have to apologize to Gabe Davis and apologize for me for apologize to me for you doubting my talent for evaluating.
All right,
my eye
so
for
what-
evaluating
all right,
talent.
and then
I know. I'm trying to think of what takes. Okay. But what if Carson Wentz and they both? I was gonna say if the Wentz and Jimmy G thing.
you just got to say the complete opposite. If he has under 1,000,
Okay. Yeah.
then you have to come on here and
Okay.
say.
Then I'm the receiver king.
I
and
think
then
it's
no,
a-
for that
okay.
episode, it has
I
to
think
be
it's a safe bet for me.
Joel's the GOAT,
Joel's the GOAT.
not Joel's the GOAT,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Yeah.
$50 and whoever is the wide receiver.
Yeah, we have
gotta
to give
props.
just a spiel, give props, okay?
Let's do it.
We'll take that bet. We're gonna make so many bets this season.
Oh yeah, it's exciting.
We can't bet money all the
under
time. We're gonna be
1,000
broke.
on Gabe Davis. I wish DraftKings had that. I'd
That's the
throw
crib.
the mortgage on it.
You know what's funny is that like you're saying this and he's really gonna do it, bro.
Okay.
He had
Nah, Gabe
200
Davis
in a
could have a
game.
good
He did.
He had 200 in a game.
That would have been like 40% of his total regular season yards.
That's because of opportunity, bro.
Okay. Yeah. He
whatever.
couldn't beat out.
'Cause
He
Emmanuel.
couldn't beat out 34-year-old Emmanuel
Stop
Sanders.
it. The name alone, you still got to give him that
I'm
credit.
sorry. This isn't
So on to the next
29-year-old
topic.
Emmanuel.
Aaron Rodgers decided to stay back in Green Bay. This was reported by Pat McAfee himself. And for me, I think that Aaron Rodgers made the right decision. He didn't want to be like Russell Wilson and go compete with some of the top teams in the AFC because he knows the NFC is easy.
And he's scared. And he doesn't care about his legacy by any means. Russ does. He hears the noise. He wants that challenge.
I think maybe it's scared, but I don't think being scared is a bad thing. Sometimes if
When you're a grown man,
Yeah.
Come on now.
You want to know why? Because sometimes if I'm on the stock market, if I'm on Robinhood or wherever I invest and I look at a company, oh my God, they're going down under. I'd be scared to invest my money. That's
Gary
me
Vee
being
would be freaking out on you right now.
That's me being smart. I
Gary
think
Vee.
You see that TikTok of him recently? He's like, I cannot wait until the NFTs completely go under.
Oh, yeah.
Because that'll be the day that I go and I put all my money into the market.
He believes in them as hell.
okay, he could be wrong. He's not always right.
Yeah.
No, obviously. I'm just being
Aaron
stupid.
Rodgers notices that in the NFC, there are just 3 top teams. And I'm disgusted with you because
Disgusted.
yeah, with you, Joe. You want to know why? Because you
inform
made
me.
a TikTok about Rodgers and, oh, yeah, I love that he stayed. Because in the NFC, really, you just have the Rams you got to compete with, and then the Packers. Those are the two top teams. You totally forgot about the 49ers. They are still going to be there.
Well, I said that in the YouTube video I created, Joel's Takes, if you guys want to take it out, because I said the 49ers are in there too, but the hesitation I had was first-year Trey Lance, can he go into Green Bay and be Aaron Rodgers? That was my hesitation. But yes,
I appreciate you for clarifying that.
By getting no offensive touchdowns.
But Aaron Rodgers notices that in the NFC, it's really, if you can beat one team, you can go to the Super Bowl. He understands that. And I think it's a much easier path. NFC South, there's no quarterback in that division outside of Matt Ryan. NFC North is rebuilding for the most part. I wouldn't sleep on Minnesota next year, though.
Here we go.
I wouldn't sleep on them.
5 years of charm?
Yes.
What'd you say? 50 years of charm?
Second years of charm. And the NFC East is the NFC East. Yeah. And the NFC West, I mean, with Seattle rebuilding now, I'm not that high on Arizona going into next year. I feel like they have a lot of key free agents that they might lose. So I'm not too high on them. This is a cakewalk for Aaron Rodgers. They're probably going to win the division again. This is the perfect situation for him. Back-to-back MVP. Really, this whole thing, like for me, I'm really more so wondering what's going to go on with Jordan Love. You know, I feel like Jordan Love is such a talented guy.
Oh, God.
And he's not getting a fair shake to play.
God.
And you know what makes me sick to my stomach? What makes me sick to my stomach is that because the Packers decided to stay with Aaron Rodgers, which was the right decision, he is arguably going to go down as one of the best quarterbacks who ever played the game. It is somehow an indictment on Jordan Love. Well, I'm here to tell you that's not the case. Brett Favre, when the Packers moved off from Brett Favre, it was clear that he was past his prime. He was washed. He cost them the playoff games because he threw boneheaded interceptions. And we look at the other quarterbacks that sat a year, Pat Mahomes, they had to move off of Alex Smith. That's not a hard thing to do. Moving off of Aaron Rodgers is a very difficult thing to do. Jordan Love will still be a good quarterback. And whether it's with Green Bay, whether it's with another team, I love Atlanta for Jordan Love. Arthur Smith, you best believe he's looking at Jordan Love.
They have a top 5 quarterback in Matt Ryan. Why would they want Jordan Love, bro?
Because Jordan Love is aging. I mean, Matt Ryan's aging. I mean, come on, bro. Right. Let's use logic here.
My bad.
Let's use logic
Sorry, bro.
here.
You're just so high on Matt Ryan. I didn't know if you want him to take your spot.
Jordan Love, I think, is still going to be a good quarterback. It was reported actually that the Packers have not taken any calls on Love, which means that to me, they look at that guy and they're like, yo, he's still going to be good. All right. So just tone down all this talk.
They probably haven't gotten any calls.
I agree, though.
I don't
think it's an indictment. Wow, indictment. What's up? I don't think it's indictment against Jordan Love. Rather, it's just a waste of a first-round pick. That's all it is. Because you're right.
They could have gotten a wide receiver. I don't know why.
If you could have got T. Higgins. If you have Aaron Rodgers
at the time, though, Rodgers was coming off of some of his his most inefficient seasons.
He definitely was. That was also the year they brought in LaFleur too, as well, though. I'm almost positive because McCarthy got fired, and then they brought in because LaFleur was like part of the reason why they wanted Jordan Love. But yeah, it's not about Jordan Love. It's just if you have Aaron Rodgers, yes, you're gonna take him. To me, it's just like we've mentioned before. It's just a waste of a pick. You completely wasted a first-round pick. But Aaron Rodgers, I would have done the same thing. That's why I was so confident or gave such high odds. I think I said I'd give him a 70% chance of staying in Green Bay because he's someone that I don't see as like wanting to change his whole routine. Like I feel like he's in Green Bay. He has his people and he likes it. He doesn't want to go to Denver or Tennessee, whatever team it might have been, and change up everything, get new friends. Like he's kind of an odd guy, you know, and his routine I feel like is important to him.
Isn't it weird how I feel like every Aaron Rodgers conversation you have to mention his character?
Yeah,
every single Aaron Rodgers conversation ever had.
I don't know why
gets
because we don't know this.
No,
guy.
That's one of my points. No, I understand.
He's a bit out there.
That's why though, because he's so himself and so unique.
Yes,
that it automatically gets thrown into the conversation.
And I think he's a great dude.
He might be
to a degree. To a degree, he has some interesting opinions.
He has some interesting takes, and you know his whole issue with like the front office and coaching, all of this that he had in previous years. Now all of a sudden it's fixed and everything's happy and flowers or whatever. But I think it was the right choice because you mentioned it's just super easy path to the Super Bowl, really just competing with the Rams. And if the 49ers are able to replicate what they did last year, which I think they will with Jordan Love. But I also think it's a couple other reasons. I think LaFleur plays a pretty big... Sorry, did I say Jordan Love? Yeah, if they had Jordan Love, they'd be screwed.
No, they wouldn't.
I think LaFleur plays a pretty big role in this. They've had success over the last couple of years. Maybe not playoff success, but they've been probably the best regular season team over the last 2 years or 3 years since LaFleur has gotten there. Rodgers won back-to-back MVPs. So I think him having LaFleur there, seeing how great he's been with them, that has to play a pretty big part, as well as Davante Adams, the best receiver in football. They tagged him, probably going to work on a long-term extension as well. They seem to have a really great relationship, and wherever he goes, you're not getting a receiver as good Davante Adams. And that's pretty much it. I mentioned about the NFC being wide open.
Listen, I'm happy for Aaron Rodgers. And I'm happy for the Denver Broncos that we didn't have to deal with this Aaron Rodgers saga anymore. We got put out of our misery really fast, thankfully, because he made that decision to go back, and maybe less than 3 hours, we had our franchise quarterback in Russell Wilson. So good for Aaron Rodgers. He gets his money, now becomes the highest paid quarterback of all time.
You think he was sick he didn't have the spotlight for more than like an hour?
That I definitely do believe. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I'm thrilled about it because Russell Wilson deserves it. Russell Wilson, that's bigger news. It's way bigger news.
No, definitely.
Kidding me?
Definitely.
Come on. And Russell Wilson, you want to talk about a genuine nice guy. There is no one that epitomizes those words, those adjectives, than Russell Wilson. He's a stand-up guy, Walter Payton Man of the Year.
Sweetheart.
Aaron Rodgers would never win that award. You kidding me? This guy is so generous.
Gives back to the community.
Absolutely love him. Man, I can't believe it still. That being said, back to Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry, I'm gushing. I do believe that they're going to be put in a position where he is going to have another cakewalk in the NFC. However, this past season, we thought it was going to be a similar type cakewalk, and unfortunately, he couldn't score more than one touchdown at home against the Niners, who have a solid defense, fair, really good defense. But your defense was elite all season. Or it was great. It had great moments. It had great moments for sure. The rush defense, to your credit, was not the greatest, but in terms of everything, one of the better defenses in the league. Not the best defense, but one of the better defenses in the league. So it was smart in that sense to come back because the last time he had a great defense, they went to the Super Bowl and they won the whole thing. Now, their focus needs to be here. We need to bring in another weapon because in that game against the Niners, he was so locked and loaded on seeing Davante Adams that he forgot that Allen Lazard was one of his more trusted targets throughout the season. Aaron Jones and Davante Adams were the only two guys targeted in that entire game. I actually think Lazard had one target, no receptions.
Yeah.
No one else had any other
was
looks.
the only receiver who had a reception.
That's a lie. It was a tight end, correct, that he fumbled.
Mercedes Lewis had a reception.
Correct.
But no receiver.
Correct.
Other receiver.
And yes, in that sense, it makes sense. This is an easier path. However, how I look at it, and the way that I am, and the way that other people motivate me, I can't believe that he wouldn't even entertain the idea.
I think he entertained it.
Do you think so?
There
I don't
was
know.
reports the last few days that he was truly torn on the decision.
See, that's
he
the
wants
thing.
to make.
I don't know. I can't believe anything I read when it comes to Aaron Rodgers.
So why do you think that it was a no-brainer?
Because the money was there.
I know,
You're
but
becoming the highest paid player in the league. You understand?
Denver would have had to give him a bag too.
But we weren't making him the highest paid player, I don't think.
I'm sure if you guys were trading for him, you guys were Green Bay and Denver was talking to be like, okay, you want to trade for him, but he's going to want it back.
We probably would have let him play on this contract that he has.
I don't think he goes to
resign
Denver
without
them saying,
really?
Without him saying, okay, what money are you going to give me the next 3 years?
Okay, fair enough. Regardless of that fact, I still don't look at the Packers as the best team in the NFC. They need to get weapons this offseason for me to really believe that. Because Davante Adams is the best wide receiver in the NFL. Or at worst, number 2 wide receiver in the NFL. You got to give Cooper Kupp his respect after he had the single greatest football season a wide receiver's ever had. So you got to give him that respect. However, Davante Adams is all-world, unbelievable talent. Aaron Jones is one of the better running backs in the NFL. Their O-line took a hit. And he's getting older. He's getting put in a position where he can't be as mobile as he once was. He can be, sure, but I'm sure that he doesn't want to be that scrambling type quarterback. He wants to stay in the pocket that he's been so accustomed over these years that he's had one of the best O-lines in the NFL. They have holes that they need to fill. Devondre Campbell, if they're probably not going to pay them because they are in cap hell as well. He's gone, and that's one of the key pieces to that defense.
Rasul
Douglas is another one that they might lose. There's just pieces that are going to be maneuvering with this Green Bay Packers that leads me to have concerns. Will I still think they'll be one of the top teams in the NFC? Sure. You have Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, they have such an easy path just to win the division, getting the number 1 seed with the rebuilding Lions, rebuilding Bears, and Minnesota with the first-time head coach.
But
it's so easy.
A big part of it is your legacy has been put on the line this offseason. You lost a game you should not have lost, especially in Lambeau Field. For me, it would have been exciting to be in a division with 2 of the top 4 best quarterbacks in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers now has to go up against Patrick Mahomes, who is trying to take that claim away from him. You're in a division where you'd see him twice a year. You could easily say and finish your career with people believing that you are a better ball player than Patrick Mahomes. Brady, to a degree, did that. Aaron Rodgers had that opportunity. I would have taken that challenge head on to prove everyone absolutely wrong. He can still do it, but now it's Super Bowl or bust. In the AFC, you beat Mahomes twice. In the AFC, you face a Josh Allen in the playoffs. You face a Joe Burrow. You face all these top-notch quarterbacks that it's seeming the AFC is the best we've ever seen it in our lifetimes. I would have definitely taken that challenge head on to completely silence doubters, because if he wins a championship this season, or if he would have won a championship this season with the Broncos, he could have retired tomorrow and people would be saying he's a top 3 quarterback all time.
I don't think winning a Super Bowl with the Packers versus the Broncos is going to change much about his legacy.
Yeah, that's
in terms of the road to the
Super
Bowl. No, of course I'm coming. Of course, well, not really. I say that in the sense of the path to get there in the NFC, as in the path to get there to the AFC. We just spoke about it with Russell Wilson. Why, this doesn't necessarily make them clear cut because of how strong the AFC is.
The Packers roster is better than Denver's.
I don't know about that.
And you just mentioned Super Bowl or bust for Rodgers. It was
in the NFC.
It would have been the same thing in AFC.
For sure.
Fair.
The expectations would have been the same. It's just really the biggest difference would have been round 1 if you didn't get a bye. He's probably
the Packers do have a better roster than Denver. Rashawn Gary, Zadarius Smith, if they don't cut him.
Offensively,
Rashawn Gary's not getting cut. Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark, just those 2 guys makes your defensive line better.
No, I'm with you. The defense is better.
Jair Alexander, Eric Stokes. That's better than any 2 you guys have.
What are you saying, Sertan?
He's not Jair.
Jair?
You said Eric Stokes.
Eric Stokes can be just as good as Sertan, bro. He had a
Jair. That's fine.
Adrian Amos, Darnell Savage. Adrian Amos, Darnell Savage.
Okay. Justin
Offensive
Simmons,
line, David
Kareem
Bakhtiari,
Jackson.
Elton Jenkins.
David Bakhtiari, who didn't play at all last season.
Yeah, because he recovered from his ACL injury, but he's going to play this upcoming season.
And probably will be as good as he was before he came on the field, but we need to see him on the field.
I'm just saying, he's not David Bakhtiari, though.
Garrett Bowles is still great,
David
though.
Bakhtiari has been consistently the best or second best.
He has been,
left
but
tackle
now
in the NFL.
he's also been hurt and he's older. Bowles is still in his prime or approaching his prime.
Trent Williams
really.
was hurt too, and he was just fine.
I don't compare anyone to Trent Williams.
Correct.
Bakhtiari, somebody that you could probably compare to Trent Williams, though. If that's the closest one to him.
Trent Williams is the single greatest left tackle in the league.
Bakhtiari has been that for the last couple of years,
because Trent Williams was out.
Because he was hurt.
Trent, who you're saying?
Trent.
Well, Trent had some issues with cancer.
That's even worse.
Well, regardless of that fact, when he's on the field, he's the best.
The Packers do have a better roster than Denver, bro.
Honestly, as a whole, I still see the Broncos
if you're Aaron Rodgers, you look at your team. Okay, one, my team is better than the team I would have had in Denver.
Offensively, which team's better?
It's really pretty much even, bro.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
It's Devontae Adams, no one.
Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon don't exist.
Javonte Williams.
Come on, bro.
Melvin Gordon's better than
Can you
AJ Dillon.
stop? One receiver as opposed to 4?
Do Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon not exist, though?
Javonte Williams. Melvin Gordon.
Okay, Melvin Gordon's a free agent.
Correct, but it's leaning towards he's coming back.
Okay,
as well.
If Aaron Rodgers were to go to Denver, it would have been a $40 million cap hit. They probably can't bring anybody back.
Aaron Rodgers was a huge cap. Russell Wilson was
just
a
17 mil against the cap.
I thought it was like 24.
Something like that.
No, it's because Seattle ate some. Seattle actually didn't get much cap space from trading Wilson.
I think they have like a $20-something million dead cap hit because of it.
Seattle does have the 3rd most cap in NFL now.
And they have like $35 million money.
But the Bobby cut helped.
Before Russell Wilson was traded, they had about 30 mil. After he was traded, by trading Russell Wilson, they only gained about $800,000 in cap relief. That's it.
They had a ton of dead money come on the books.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Like, if you're Aaron Rodgers, my team is better here. The path is easier here. It's pretty much
better
it's a no-brainer.
is interesting.
It's not interesting, bro.
I still don't
It's
know.
facts.
I don't know.
I think it's a fact. Whatever.
It's the whole like depth versus superstar thing. It's like the whole Mark
Correct.
Andrews and Hollywood
Correct.
versus Hopkins debate again.
Which is again
The Rams had no
Kelsey
depth last year. Rams had no depth.
at
Little to no at mostly every position.
They just stayed relatively healthy, other than Robert Woods
I know.
and obviously Odell in the playoffs or in the Super Bowl.
Like depth matters for sure. Like I agree with
But
you.
you also have to get lucky. Like you have to get lucky to make the Super Bowl. You have to stay healthy.
Yeah, and also plays have to go your way.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
that's a fact. So, but all around, I think like looking at the Packers and Broncos, bro, similar rosters, and you could probably lean towards defensively. You'd lean towards the Packers, at least personnel wise. Like I know you guys ranked higher, but like personnel wise,
you're a big
and
name
players,
guy, huh?
well, yeah, that's what makes these top defenses, bro. Like, and I do think Devontae Campbell's coming back. For the record, I do think
They
he's
have
coming
to
back.
free up some money somehow.
They haven't
some way.
announced his contract. He said the Rappaport's
Bro, they're at
report was
minus
false.
49 million.
Apparently, this Rodgers deal was cap friendly. I'm not sure how, but
I'm gonna keep it a buck, bro. I've seen the Saints
Yeah,
finesse
fair,
every year,
fair.
and I will.
But to get Devontae Campbell back, that's going to be tough.
Razul's
And
a free
Razul.
agent. They want to extend
Razul for me isn't like he played great, but most of the time he was out there, it was in Jair's absence.
cornerback. You just said depth's important.
That's important, but as long as
Especially
you
at
got
corner.
Jair healthy, you will be fine. With
he
Eric
was
Stokes.
hurt a majority of last season.
Yeah, but
Given it was his
that's the
first
first
time,
time
yeah,
he's been
for
hurt.
sure.
though.
Za'Darius isn't coming back also?
It depends. He's right now. They can cut him and relieve some cap, but it depends on what they want to do. Preston Smith is probably gone for sure, though.
It's the two top D linemen of theirs, but Rashawn
Preston
Gary
Smith,
makes it
no.
feel
Preston
okay.
Smith, no. He's been kind of
I'm
mixed.
saying,
Rashawn Gary's like on the
Correct.
path to be a superstar.
yeah,
right
no,
now.
he's awesome for sure.
And Kenny Clark's one of the better defensive tackles.
And Za'Darius is just nice to have, but he missed a lot of last season.
You're right. I'm just saying, I think for Rodgers, it was a no-brainer decision. For me, I think
Because of the money, I believe. That's the one reason. The money and the fact that it's an easier path.
You guys would have gave him a very similar contract. I think.
you would have gave Aaron Rodgers
50?
whatever he wanted.
50?
Yes.
You think 50?
Yeah. Because also, I don't know if the Broncos aren't trained for Rodgers with 1 year left on his deal. They're going to want to extend him. Rodgers is going to want to get extended. And if you already have a deal in place, the picks and the players are sorted out, you're like, all right, let's just get this deal done. Everything's there.
50 is a lot.
You're not going to let like $5 million, screw you over from Aaron Rodgers. If you want 45, he wants 50, but you get Aaron Rodgers, you're going to give him 50 because it's Aaron Rodgers.
I get it, but I'm happy with the move we made.
Of course, so would I.
On to the next segment, Carson Wentz. We were going to go in order with these.
Wow, we really made this a topic. Interesting. All right.
No, we're not making this topic.
Oh, okay,
This-
good.
We were going to go in order and do the NFC East from the top to the bottom.
So the
But
Commanders
because
first.
the news came out about Carson Wentz going to Washington, we're going to start off with Washington first. So Washington finished 7-10 this past season. And big news, they just traded for Carson Wentz for 2 third-round picks, and they swapped second-rounders with the Colts, basically. Now, they're paying his full $28 million salary along with the $5 million bonus, which means that they only have $6 million in cap space this offseason, but they could cut Landon Collins, Matthew Ioannidis, Wes Schweitzer, and free up some more cap. But for the most part, they don't have much flexibility right now. So what do you think about the Carson Wentz trade? What do you think about the Commanders going into next season or going into this offseason and what they need the most? And are you a believer in this new look Carson Wentz with the Washington Commanders?
I'm a bit surprised they traded for Wentz because they made a hard push apparently to Rappaport and whoever tweeted out that they offered 3 first-round picks to get Russ. And Russ, 2 reasons. One, Seattle wanted him out of the NFC, and Russ also wanted to go to Denver over the Commanders, which I can't blame him for. But I think this tells me more than anything that there must have been a pretty hot market for Carson Wentz because we know Deshaun Watson's case hearing's coming up this Friday, and whatever happens in that might clear up some speculation whether he's going to be able to play this upcoming year. So that tells me I think Washington was worried that another team was going to go out and trade for Wentz, and they wanted to get on it now, especially right after they traded for or they missed out on Russell Wilson. So I think even though we had to talk off the show, I'm not a Carson Wentz truther. I don't think he's this top 12 quarterback. I just simply think he's better than Jimmy Garoppolo. He's definitely better than Taylor Heineke. So any reason or any way you could upgrade quarterback, you absolutely do it. Giving up 2 third-round picks after the previous year, the Colts had to give up a first and a third To me, that's a
Ended up
no-brainer.
turning into a first. Yep.
And because Wentz stayed healthy, and they have a similar deal in this one where the third could turn into a second. So if you give up a second and third, but what's good about Wentz's contract is next year they could get out of it with no dead money. So worst case scenario, you give up a second and third. It's kind of the same conversation we were having last year where, you give up a first, but if he becomes a franchise quarterback, it's worth it. This is a little less because you're giving up a second and third. You're not giving up that premium draft pick in the first round. And in this draft, they have the 11th overall pick. So they're able to go and get another difference maker, whether they want to go with receiver, or they have a few different needs, safety, linebacker. But I think receiver now, we've had plenty of debates about Terry McLaurin. Is Carson Wentz good enough to say he's got a quarterback?
Yes.
He's not.
No?
Yes.
So there's still an excuse for Terry that's quarterback's not good enough.
I have a question for you.
No.
Was Matt Schaub good enough to say that D-Hop had a quarterback?
You mean Andre Johnson?
And Hop, though.
Hop
You
was
played
with
Hop?
Schaub? Are you
I think
sure?
he played with
Pretty
Hop
sure.
like
I
1 or
think
2
he was-
years.
You might be right, but I don't know. I'll check.
Hop put up some crazy years
I know.
with Schaub.
I know.
So if he could do it with Schaub, I hope that Terry could do it with Wentz.
I know. We're talking about DeAndre Hopkins here, though.
I know.
Well, he thinks Terry could have a top 5 season. So
If with the right quarterback, Carson Wentz is not the right quarterback, though.
Matt Schaub was the right quarterback.
Carson Wentz completes 62% of his passes.
What do you think Schaub completed?
More than 62.
I don't think it was that much higher than 62%. Because either way, they're both middle of the pack type guys. I think
Career 64.2.
sick.
Damn, that's good.
That 2%.
is
That's like an
better.
extra pass per
That's
game.
better.
It's like a
No,
pass
I
per game.
think McLaurin to have his best season of his career with
Okay,
Wentz.
but I just want to know: is this quarterback good enough to say Terry has his quarterback? So
He's not.
Everyone.
Look, this is what I'm saying. Carson Wentz isn't
He had
good
half
enough.
a season with rookie DeAndre.
Okay.
Carson Wentz is not good enough to say that. Oh, McLaurin, finally, he's with a good quarterback.
This is his best quarterback by far.
Like he's not. Carson Wentz is not good enough for me to say that. But Carson Wentz is his best quarterback, which is not saying much, bro. They've been having trash.
Nah,
It's
Terry's about to tweak this
It's
season.
like Allen Robinson, the plethora of quarterbacks and terrible quarterbacks he's gone through. But outside of the quarterback position, I do think bringing another receiver for the Commanders makes sense.
I like that.
Terry's a stud. Curtis Samuel, they signed to a pretty big contract last year. He just wasn't really able to stay healthy. But we saw when he was on Carolina, he's a really explosive receiver. He could also run the ball, take jet sweeps, or even be out of the backfield in like this Debo light type of role. He's really explosive with the ball in his hands, but Adam Humphries is a free agent, so that third wide receiver role, I know they drafted Diami Brown last season, so maybe he could go into that. But I wouldn't hate taking a veteran or even a receiver at number 11 because there's a chance they might be able to get the first receiver off the board at 11. And if you could pair Terry McLaurin with another elite receiver, however, whatever your taste is, if you want the Garrett Wilsons, the Burks, the Londons, you'll be able to go and get your guy, your number one receiver.
Number one.
I'm saying number one off the board.
Okay.
I think it's possible. They might go earlier, but I think 11 could also be the first receiver off the board. It wouldn't shock me.
You want that to be the Jets?
I really don't think Washington needs to go receiver.
I don't think they have to. I think it's an option for them.
I'll tell you
think
what, I'd be
they
way more
have-
excited if they went wide receiver than any other position. 'Cause
No,
right
they,
now
they
their
need
number
a they
two
need
is,
a linebacker right now.
Yeah, I was getting
but there's
safety
not a
and
great
linebacker.
linebacker
Dean.
here at 11.
Or are they going to take an inside linebacker at 11?
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
the only thing.
At 11 is what I'm wondering.
N'Kobe Dean is a stud.
He's a stud.
He's
for
a monster.
Sure. He's for sure. But if you're telling me, would you rather have a stud inside linebacker or a stud receiver? I'm taking the stud receiver.
For what they need, I'll take the linebacker. They really need
their
that
defense
right now.
was great 2 seasons ago.
But their receiving core is mid outside of Terry.
Curtis Samuel was hurt last year.
Adam
but he's coming back.
Humphries.
Adam Humphries, he's not going to be back
He's
there.
going to be a free
Correct.
agent. Diami
But with
Brown had some
McLaurin,
moments.
Samuel, Logan Thomas, that's just fine.
J.D. McKissick's also a
defense-
free agent who's been
in this
really solid for them
NFL,
last
you
2
want
years.
a plethora of wide receivers.
Bro, we say that because like the Bengals did this outlier thing, but
Rams.
you have
The
to have a
Rams, yeah.
balanced team. The Rams they won it without OB. He got hurt, bro.
They signed Odell before Robert Woods got hurt.
I
It was
know.
the day before.
I know, but they never had all three of them together.
But they were
And
they
they won.
wanted to. They had Woods
I
and
know.
Cup, and they said we're still going to sign
it's
Odell.
not about wanting to or not wanting to. It's about like what happened, and they won it without the plethora of this.
I think especially when you don't have an elite quarterback, like Josh Allen's an exception because he really just has Diggs, even though you guys are really high in Gabe Davis. If you don't have that elite
Going into
quarterback,
this season. Take it easy, kid.
if you don't have an elite quarterback, I'd want that outside receiver who could get open or win 50-50
He doesn't
balls.
just have Diggs, bro. Like, come on, let's.
Dawson Knox, Cole Beasley,
Be
and
nice to Dawson. He's
Cole
nice.
they're
Beasley-
good. Yes,
He's
they're-
nice.
Cole
Yes.
Beasley had 1,000 yards, bro. Not this past season, but in 2019, before they got Diggs, he had 1,000 yards.
3 years ago.
Bro, Cole, and even in 2020, he had a big time year with Diggs. Like,
He did.
why are we acting like he has nothing? Like,
I look at the other wide receiver twos around the league, and Cole Beasley's not as good as
well,
the
Cole
T.
Beasley's
Higgins.
a slot.
And,
It's a different position.
but
It's a
still
slot.
being your number 2 option, not maybe outside number 2, but your second best receiver.
Well, even with that, even if you want to say that, like I know name brand wise, maybe okay, yeah, Cole Beasley, I'll take more guys over him, but
And
the
look at
production he gave you, it was worth it. Like he produced. What I'm saying is that for the Washington, bro, last year their defense fell off.
It was terrible.
cliff.
Horrible.
It was terrible.
The reason for that is not the defense. The defensive line is fine. We know the defensive line is great. It's because they didn't have any corners. Like outside of Kendall Fuller,
William Jackson was
a
a huge
disappointment.
deal.
huge
Yeah.
disappointment.
St. Just as a rookie couldn't really rely on him. Their safeties Cam Curl and Collins. Like, you know, I like Cam Curl. He was like underrated as a rookie.
I thought he was a lot better as rookie than this past
Yeah,
year.
but he didn't play too well. And then linebackers, they had the worst linebacking core in the NFL. Jamin Davis was somebody that out of college had all this potential athleticism. He's off the charts, but he just didn't transit to the NFL right away. That's why I think at 11, you got to go with a corner or you got to go with a linebacker. Nakobe Dean out of Georgia is my first pick if I'm Washington, if he's there. Nakobe Dean could change around that defense and make them be able to cover tight ends now and cover slots and cover running backs out the backfield.
If Sauce is there, you take him, no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He won't be there, but I'd even take a look at Stingley. But even though
Stingley's not going to be there either then.
he will be there. Stingley will be there at 11.
And then they hit a lick.
I also think
Stingley will be there at 11.
I think
And they're lit.
you could really make the argument for receiver though.
Because like if Drake London, Garrett Wilson are there, that is too intriguing for me to pass up.
There will be there.
But
One
if,
of them.
But if Sauce
for sure.
is there, I would take Sauce over all of them.
I would also take Sauce.
But they've also been talking about
But I don't think he's gonna be there.
I agree.
they've been talking about Amari Cooper going to Washington if he gets released.
End of the day, though, I think are we
They
in
need a
agreement
weapon.
they need another receiver?
They need a weapon.
I think they need another receiver, but
You just don't think they
I'm
need to
talking
spend
about like
premium.
in the draft. If I'm between the Kobe Dean and between like one of these top receivers, I'd go with a linebacker because I think they can find a receiver later in the draft. There's more depth at receiver in this draft than I think there is linebackers.
And I feel like the difference between this year and last year, where we're looking at the Commanders in reference to the Bengals, how you mentioned earlier, the difference there was Jamar Chase was the generational talent.
for sure.
Here, Garrett Wilson, we spoke about it. There's no consensus wide receiver one. If we had to lean one, probably Garrett Wilson. However, there is no consensus wide receiver one. For me personally, I still think Jameson Williams could be the best, but you can't risk that high draft pick on him given the injury history.
I mean, just last year Washington fucked up because at pick 19 they drafted Jamin Davis.
Yeah, that was
it should have been JOK. And at the time I was like, they missed out on JOK.
fell to the second round.
Yeah, JOK fell, and now he's gonna be
great.
he's gonna be a great linebacker. Like we know he's gonna be great. So they messed up there, but I just feel like they need to. The reason why they were so great in 2020 was because their defense was elite.
Their pass rush.
They need
insane.
to get back to that.
They
again.
also lost
Chase
Young.
Young.
Yeah, they lost Chase Young.
Yeah, and Chase Young will be back.
midway through the season. I want to say.
And they need corner too. They need a slot.
Definitely need a corner.
William Jackson, even though he didn't play well, he's not gonna get replaced. He's staying.
Do you consider trading up a few spots to get Kyle Hamilton?
They would have to trade up a lot to do that.
A lot, you think? I'm seeing mock drafts of him going to the 10th.
Yeah.
The 10th.
I don't think there's not a consensus on him. Like I've seen him
I
at
feel
3.
like
I've seen him at 10.
if I'm Washington, I just address the slot. So I try to go get a Bryce Callahan or a Chris Harris or a Desmond
They
King.
really don't have that much cap, though. And it's tough for them to clear
They
cap
have
also.
they have $6 million. They can clear $14 million by releasing Landon Collins and Matthew Ioannidis. Matthew Ioannidis, he's replaceable because they already have Jonathan Allen, Duron Payne,
Correct.
Chase Young,
Correct.
Montez
Correct.
Sweat.
Right. Yep.
They're good. They could save $14 million and then have about $22 million in cap space if they also release Wes Schweitzer, who wasn't that good anyway last year. So they can clear up around like $20 million plus.
I think if they cut Eric Flowers as well, they'd save $10 million.
I wouldn't do that. Eric Flowers is really good now.
He's a solid guard.
He's really good now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why, like, I feel like Washington, just to talk about this Wentz thing, if they don't win the division, it's a disappointment.
Such a high expectation when they're in the division with Dallas.
They're in the division. They're in the NFC West.
Dallas isn't.
Not East.
Yeah.
Oh, NFC East. My bad.
Dallas. I don't see Dallas as this juggernaut
Bro,
that
if
you can't
Dallas-
get past. They're not a
Dallas-
KC.
hold up.
They're not a Buffalo.
Hold up, bro. If
They're not a
Dallas
Green Bay.
if Dallas releases Amari Cooper, what are your thoughts on Dallas?
They're gonna release Amari.
I'm concerned about their wide receivers, but I'm not overly concerned where I still don't think they can win the division.
I think they'll be favorites to win the division, but I agree. Washington has to think we can win the division.
I ask you guys a question.
Because let's be honest, Jameson Williams could go to Dallas.
They could take a receiver. You know what's funny? Jerry Jones loves Arkansas receivers. Treylon Burks could go.
Interesting.
Yes.
But do you think Treylon would be there at 24? He could be.
He could be.
Yeah.
Taylor Heineke went 7-8 last season with Washington. How much better of a quarterback is Carson Wentz?
He's a significant upgrade.
I'm with that.
So why is it too much for me to ask to win 10 games if you're Carson Wentz or 11 in the NFC East?
10 to 11, you're competing for the division for sure.
Fair enough.
That's what I'm saying.
I agree.
For sure.
I just have Dallas, which is why I say that.
I know,
it's like, that's tough.
I know everybody's trashing Washington making this move. They missed out on Russ. They missed out on Aaron. I don't think they wanted to wait for Deshaun Watson or Jimmy G. So they pulled the trigger on Wentz. Now, Wentz is a stopgap, though. Like, they have to continue to look for quarterbacks because he's not a franchise guy. He's a mid-tier quarterback who, a report from Zach Kiefer from The Athletic, he wrote an article about inside the Colts and the mess with Carson Wentz, and everybody in the locker room consensusly pretty much is like, his leadership's not there, wasn't able to be coachable. 6 of his 7 interceptions came in the second half. He completes 62% of his passes. He's inaccurate. He's sporadic. I mean, everybody wanted Carson Wentz gone, bro. I mean, this isn't... I feel like right now...
Darius Leonard seemed to like him.
Teams continue to give Carson Wentz a chance.
That's now
being the Colts...
The leader of the team.
Correct.
The Colts took a chance on Carson Wentz. They regretted it. It's the worst decision they've made in their franchise in the last, 10, 20 years?
Not getting luck at O-line, releasing Peyton Manning...
Releasing Peyton Manning was whatever because they got Andrew Luck. Like, it wasn't a terrible decision.
I also feel like that was mutual. Peyton's coming off neck injuries. It's not like there was like prime Peyton. They're like, yeah, see you later.
I don't know if Peyton wanted to stay. They could have made it work. However, Andrew Luck not giving no lines inexcusable.
Yeah,
Carson Wentz, the Colts before Week 17 had a 97% chance of making the playoffs.
Absolutely.
90-freaking-7, and he choked. It was a disaster class. They missed it. But even before that time, Frank Reich, Chris Ballard, Jim Irsay were already like, we're out on Carson Wentz. We don't want him back next season. Washington took a huge risk for getting Carson Wentz.
I mean, they gave up 2/3. That might be a second.
It's not that big of a risk.
It's a huge risk because you're bringing in a guy who the leadership quality isn't there. Like, say what you want. I know that he's a better quarterback than Taylor Heineke, but Taylor Heineke has that kind of it factor about him in terms of leadership,
he has
in
confidence.
terms of rallying around his teammates. This can either be the Washington Commanders, like they win 10, 11 games, which I'm expecting them to do, or it can be a 5-win season.
But even still, all of those issues that the Colts had, they still won 8 games. And they were right there to make the playoffs, and they just collapsed those last 2. So even if his leadership skills aren't there, it's not like the Colts were this laughing stock who won 4 games.
They had the most Pro Bowlers in the NFL of any team.
I know, but the Washington has the talent. The defense 2 years ago was arguably the best in the year. Best in the league.
It was the best in the league that year for a lot of reasons. One of the main reasons being that they had a very easy schedule.
They also have a great pass rush if everyone's healthy.
And that's
front
for
seven,
sure.
yeah.
For sure, but it wasn't until
Super Bowl champions. It
wasn't until this past season where they had that first place schedule. Yeah, the defense got
Drew's right.
early.
They let up 19 points, 16 points to Tampa Bay in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, they were one of the better defensive performances.
They almost lost.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but at the same time, they came into this past season as
higher expectations.
Yes,
their defense was horrible.
It was terrible.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the Colts had the most Pro Bowlers of any team in the NFL, and if Carson Wentz, there's a strong possibility he's just a complete disaster in Washington.
I don't think he's going to be a disaster.
Do you know Washington's offensive lines rank?
Their offensive line is really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that with Brandon Sheriff being a free agent though?
Brandon Sheriff was one of the worst ones on their offensive line this past season. Eric Flowers is better than him.
Interesting.
Chase Roller, their center, was better than him.
Brandon Sheriff's the highest paid.
Sam Cosmi was better than him. Was rookie right tackle.
So you don't think they're bringing back Sheriff?
They don't have to.
Interesting.
They don't have to.
He's the highest paid guard. And he's
also
mid?
missed a lot of injury.
Okay.
Yeah, missed a lot of time due to injury. Not last year, but throughout his career.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this could end up being a disaster for them. You know, it can. But my expectations is that with Carson Wentz, with this roster he has, he should win 10 games, bro. I don't feel like there's any excuse. Yeah. But because I don't trust Carson Wentz, he probably won't get there.
I don't trust Wentz either, but I think that 10 wins, that should be their goal. Their goal should be winning the division, making the playoffs, because the Giants are rebuilding. The Eagles have 3 first-round picks, so they'll be able to, to get better. And Dallas is having some issues with their cap space, having to release Amari Cooper.
Oh my God.
And now you're looking at Dallas. They have CD. Gallup's a free agent coming off torn ACL. We're going to get into Dallas.
Cedric Wilson's a free agent also.
So we can move on. Unless you have something more to say. Sorry.
No, I'm good. You mentioned the Cowboys, and we're going to talk about them right now.
Let's do it.
They finished 12-5. They restructured Dak Prescott and Zach Martin's contracts to free up $22 million in cap space. They franchise tagged Dalton Schultz. But even with that, when I last checked, they still have minus $22 million in cap space.
Yeah.
So they don't have money. The next move they might make is releasing Amari Cooper. And before we get in depth into their offseason, let's just talk about the Amari Cooper thing. If they do indeed release Amari Cooper, how big of a mistake would this be?
Real quick, Dallas now has $1 million in cap space. Yeah. So they freed up. And they could also restructure Dak's deal, I believe, and save a little bit more.
They restructured his deal already.
Oh, they did it already?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Where'd you see them have one?
Spotrac, or over the cap.
Okay, I was going to say Spotrac has a -8.
I always wonder
Cap's
why
all over the place.
Why
facts.
there's always these big
It is all over the place. But you cut Amari Cooper. The weapons room definitely gets interesting. But then you're really relying on CeeDee Lamb to be a wide receiver 1. And I do think CeeDee Lamb has wide receiver 1 talent. However, I'm worried we're starting to overrate CeeDee Lamb's game a little bit. I think he's a very talented wide receiver. Sure. Do I think he's wide receiver 1 material where you can be successful in the NFL and win games with this guy being your number 1 option? Eventually. I don't think right now is that time.
Before you go, I just want to ask you a quick question.
Okay.
So CD, right now you don't think he's wide receiver number 1. You're ready to say Judy is though.
Not right now.
Okay.
Can't say that.
I just want to know where you're at with that.
I think if we're just projecting both of them, we're projecting both of them to be wide receiver 1s.
Correct.
If Mari leaves.
Correct. Fair enough. But I'm saying as of right now, he is an excellent, one of the best wide receiver 2 options right now, CeeDee Lamb, without a doubt. Amari Cooper opens up the field for him a little bit more because Amari Cooper naturally has earned that respect to draw more attention. Now you take Amari out of that equation, and now CeeDee Lamb is going to have to play 17 games as the number 1 option. He will put up the numbers for sure, but I worry about him getting taken out of games. I worry about Dallas's offense getting going if they don't bring in another guy opposite of him. At 24, you can bring in a wide receiver, a solid one at that too. We mentioned earlier, Treylon Burks could be available. Jameson Williams, given the fact that he's coming off an ACL injury, teams might be concerned about that. He could be available. And now things start to get really exciting for me if I'm Dallas. And now I'm back on CeeDee Lamb's bandwagon. I think CeeDee Lamb is a great wide receiver talent for sure, but I do have my concerns about him being the number 1 option.
If you think Michael Gallup is healthy and he's there, what do you think of CD?
That's still tough for me personally. I need another X wide receiver on the outside. I understand that Cooper fell off a little bit, but it was mostly due to injuries. When he was on the field, he was still a touchdown threat, still a option you had to look out for.
Yeah.
Dalton Schultz was another one, another big part of the reason why Dallas's offense had success. You had Zeke and Tony Pollard, that duo backfield. Just a lot of pieces on this offense allowed for opportunity to be presented. And CeeDee Lamb definitely made the most of his opportunity. CeeDee Lamb was one of the best statistical wide receivers this season. However, with him being the wide receiver 1, I do have my concerns. Now, they can clear up some cap space with a couple moves. Blake Jarwin's probably not going to be on the team. They save around $4 million. You cut Amari Cooper, that's $16 million. So, yes, this move would benefit the team as a whole. But in the draft, if you're not bringing another wide receiver, defensively, you could use a linebacker. You could use a defensive lineman. You could probably offensive line. I probably wouldn't target.
But you could. They need depth.
They need a corner.
They're getting old and they're getting injured.
Corner, I feel as if I definitely would look that way, but I feel as if Trayvon Diggs needs to take that step in that direction of not just being a big play type receiver. He needs now to learn how to be a coverage cornerback, and I think he can do that. And I think if he does that, it doesn't make it as big of a concern. But right now, since he hasn't shown that he can be
it's not just him. And I think Trayvon Diggs is fine. I'm talking about more like Anthony Brown and Kelvin Joseph and guys they have outside of Trayvon. Like outside of Trayvon, there isn't much there.
So you're more worried about their defense right now than you are about their offense?
I'm worried about both. And that's why I think the Cowboys, they're in a tough position. I think releasing Amari Cooper would be a gigantic mistake.
I'm with you there.
One of the bigger mistakes that I've seen. And it's just on brand for Cowboys. Not going all in to try to maximize your window. Your window is now.
They basically did that this season.
No, they didn't.
In what way do you believe so?
What moves did they make to try to maximize their window?
I mean, it's been a build-up into this. Michael Parsons definitely helped that situation. Trayvon Diggs definitely helped that situation. But they invested all this money into the offensive line. They invested their money into Dak. They invested their money into Amari Cooper. They invested their money into Zeke.
They haven't righted any of their wrongs.
In what sense?
Paying Zeke was a mistake.
Yes.
It only was a mistake because Dak got hurt last season.
No, it was a mistake because you don't pay a running back that much money.
But Zeke was still fine statistically this season.
It doesn't matter.
He was fine.
He's replaceable for a fraction of the price.
Now at this point in time.
I know.
But this is when the cap is, it's a $17 million cap.
Let me use this example. The Rams, they paid Todd Gurley. They moved off him the year after.
But that was a different situation.
They realized it was a mistake.
Because he was hurt.
They ate a lot of dead money, though.
Yeah, they paid Jared Goff. They realized it was a mistake.
They ate a lot of dead money.
Moved off of him.
But it's not like you're just releasing these guys and that's it. You still have to take on dead money.
Okay,
so if they wanted to release them, it's not just...
I understand that. But Dallas has not written any of their wrongs that they've done. They paid Jalen Smith. They moved off of him too late. Leighton Vander Esch was an injury waiting to happen. He always got injured. They paid him big money.
He's healthy this season.
They paid Ezekiel Elliott big time money. When I don't care what you guys say, when I watched the games and I saw Tony Pollard and Zeke, Tony Pollard was better than Zeke.
I'm on your side.
I don't care what the stats tell me.
Maybe not better,
Pollard was better.
So replaceable.
Paying Zeke was one of the worst.
Running back agenda you have.
I do.
Paying Zeke was one of the worst mistakes ever. And now they might release Amari Cooper. I mean, y'all just said it. Y'all just said this is the new NFL. You need 4 or 5 receivers.
I'm with you. No, we're all agreeing on this one.
Losing Amari I think CD can be a 1.
Yeah, Gallup, like right now?
Yes. Gallup coming off of an ACL injury, he has to work his way back in. Cedric Wilson's a free agent. Dalton Schultz is back. That makes it a little bit better. Their offensive line has been getting worse year by year. Tyron Smith is always hurt. Lyle Collins is hurt sometimes, and also he doesn't play his best sometimes. Even though in the playoffs, he had his best game that I've seen him play in a long time. Connor Williams, also a free agent. And on defense...
Probably should bring him back also.
And on defense, I think Osa was good, the rookie. So I think he'll take a next step. Micah... Where are you going to place him? Is he going to be a linebacker? Is he going to be an edge rusher? I feel like if you lose Randy Gregory, now you can fill that edge rusher hole with Micah, but now you need linebackers. You need 3 linebackers.
He can do both, though, which makes it a perfect fit for them.
I agree, and also I don't love their safeties. I mean, J-Ron Curse is a free agent. They have
Casey's
to bring
a free agent too.
Yeah,
and Keanu Neal played linebacker for them. This season,
he didn't play well.
No.
They have to bring back J-Ron Curse. J-Ron Curse was their 3rd best defender last season. There's no doubt about it. He was covering tight ends. He was doing a damn good job. I feel like they have to focus on defense more this offseason. Even if they release Amari Cooper, they have to focus on defense a little bit more, because if I think CD can take that step to being a wide receiver number 1. Gallup is a fine 2. Wilson is fine off the slot.
These are both free agents.
And Gallup's also may not be healthy week 1.
Keeping Dalton Schultz is huge.
Huge.
Because of that, go all in on defense. Maybe go out and get a Joe Hayden. Go out and get a veteran corner, a Kyle Fuller. Go out and get a Xavier Rhodes, Xavier Rhodes was with Mike Zimmer in Minnesota. But he could come back.
All this is only possible if they free up the cap by letting go of Amari. How else could this happen?
Restructures. There's so much things that can happen. They can extend Amari Cooper.
The new NFL and the way that they finesse contracts, I'm still trying to really grasp my hand around. But right now, minus $8 million or minus $1, regardless. This is how it works. Free agents?
Let me explain it to you,
please.
Amari Cooper right now has 1 year left on his deal, I believe, or 1 or 2.
I think he has like 3. They sent him 5 years, 100
He
mil.
has no guaranteed money left on his deal, though. This is how teams finesse the cap. Let's say I'm like Dallas. I have $1 million in cap, right? Instead of Amari Cooper, instead of his cap hit being $20 million, I transfer that money for that to be a signing bonus, which means I give him the money up front, and that doesn't count against the cap. So if they do that, if they just give him the money up front, like say like, okay, we're gonna restructure your deal and move 15 mil of your salary to the signing bonus, they now save 15 mil.
Okay.
So teams that get uber aggressive like that, they can basically put voidable years in contracts and move contracts to the back and stretch it out over a long period of years.
But didn't they already do that with Dak and Zach?
They did it, yeah, and it freed up 22 mil.
But that's exactly what I'm saying. They're still under.
Yeah, but
what else could they do?
If they really wanted to go all in, they can do that with Lawrence. They can do that with Zeke. But even though Lawrence doesn't, they've asked Lawrence to take a pay cut, and he hasn't wanted to, which I don't blame him. But that's what I'm saying. Like, there's ways. The Saints did that for years with Drew Brees. They never had cap space. The Rams didn't. I mean, bro, you can't take a $30 million dead cap hit by trading Jared Goff and getting Matthew Stafford if you don't do things to finesse.
Yeah.
Like, they finesse crazy.
Definitely.
The dead money from Gurley's deal, from Goff's deal, and they're fine.
Books.
Like, and they've been able to load up the roster. Like, Dallas doesn't do that. And that's why I'm saying, like, there's ways for it to happen. I'm not working in the front office, so I can't say this is how you do it, but we've seen teams do it before. And Jerry Jones, who always says he wants to win and all this other stuff, like, he hasn't shown it, bro. He hasn't made enough moves to say
it. Hasn't been
to do it.
And he signs all of the guys that, you know, they've been a really good team drafting, and they pay all of the guys they've drafted. Who have they let go?
I know, but that's not always the best thing.
I think Zeke's the only, and Van Der Esch, because he got hurt.
Jalen Smith, too.
That was probably a year too early as well. But I think Zeke was the only one that was like a complete obvious, like, what's going on. And it's because Zeke was holding out during that offseason, 2019, I want to say. That 2019 summer, 2018 summer.
You know what Zeke was before the contract.
He was, but I also know running back is super replaceable. The reason why Dallas is good is because of Dak, not because of Zeke.
There was just very few doing what Zeke was doing at that time.
Very
few.
We see Tony Pollard. He is just as good.
He's electric.
He is very good.
I would love him.
It's killing
with the Jets.
me to hear this, man.
I also don't know if he could take 250 carries, but I know if you get Tony Pollard and then you bring in another running back to take, you know, that
Didn't
stress
Pollard
off
get
him.
hurt last season too?
Then Zeke.
True.
Running backs are going to get hurt. At the end of the day,
like, Zeke has been so durable up until this point.
He has been, but he also has all these carries on his body.
This was legitimately the first year Ezekiel Elliott had any type of injury that hindered his play. And even still, statistically, he was fine.
Statistically, because he has so much work. Like, when you get 25 carries, 20 carries, like, the yards are going to be there. The touchdowns are going to be there.
You still got to do it end of the day.
You do. But down the stretch towards the end of the year, bro, he did not look good.
Fair. He looked like
now you can't get out of that contract till 2024, I want to say. I mean, I guess you could cut him next year, but you're taking on a pretty large dead cap hit. But I mean, we've seen teams do it like the Rams.
Amari's a $6 million dead money.
You're freeing up 16 though.
No,
so it makes more sense. You're not freeing up anything.
They have the 24th pick in the draft. Who do you want to see them draft?
Nakobe Dean. I want Nakobe Dean.
I think that'd be great.
I think that's the area where I don't see inside linebacker going at 11 to the Commanders. I think it's going to drop a little bit. I also think they need interior defensive linemen. So if they take all the Georgia guys are ridiculous.
Even Devin Lloyd from Utah is really good.
But Devontae Wyatt or Jordan Davis, and then a couple veterans like Akeem Hicks or Ndamukong Suh, they really need to buff up that interior. They have great edges with Lawrence and Micah Parsons, but if they could beef up that interior, take them to another level.
You think Jordan Davis will be there or no?
Yeah, he could be.
I think his floor is to the Chargers at 17. I believe they have 17.
Jordan Davis.
They're his floor.
Like that's the latest he's going?
After his combine, bro, his stock went up crazy.
Yeah, he was super
he's
athletic.
340.
But you're telling me if Jameson Williams is there, you're not taking him if you're Dallas?
I think there's a real chance. Like, if they release Amari, they have
to
seriously consider taking
This is what I'm
receiver.
saying. If Amari is gone, receiver, especially with Dallas.
Jerry Jones from Arkansas, man.
Treylon?
It would not. If Jerry Lon's there, I think that's who we'd go with. We've seen him in the past, like the CD stuff, the CD pick. That was all Jerry. Jerry wanted CD.
Let's be real. Jameson is going to be better than
AJ Terrell on the board.
Maybe.
Wasn't AJ Terrell on the board for the CD pick?
Maybe they picked CD like 15th.
That was a mistake?
Yes.
Yeah, AJ is amazing. But CD is still really great, too.
So Daniel Jeremiah in his top 50 prospects for this draft N'Kobe Dean's 8. Devin Lloyd's 9.
Yeah, I know. But it's different when you're taking in positional value
yeah, I know.
compared to
For sure.
Big board.
But Daniel Jeremiah, the fact that he's very high on these guys, he said N'Kobe Dean reminds him of Jonathan Vilma.
That's a good comp.
Bro.
Vilma was super athletic.
That's
Jet Legend?
Jet Legend.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
I can't
Yo,
believe
you don't
legend.
think?
Can't believe
Do you think Treylon Burks is Stephen Hill?
Oh, that's so rude.
Stephen Hill.
He's
my
Josh
God.
Gordon.
Is Chris Olave?
Stop it. I don't want to even do that. You're a bastard.
Is Chris Olave Devin Smith?
That's closer. They both went to Ohio State too.
Devin Smith, Madden legend.
Yeah, he was super fast. That's
Yeah.
why.
Devin Smith.
I'm
bro.
lower on Olave than you are. I know. I don't know where you
I like
stand.
I like
Olave.
Olave a lot.
I like
I like
Olave.
Olave a lot.
I feel like I'm going to be the lowest on Olave, definitely, out of all of us. Just worries me that he was a senior. He came back his senior year, and he still wasn't the best receiver on his team. Kind of worries me. And he was always had a great receiver there with Garrett Wilson.
You could say that, but Jettas wasn't the best on his team with Jamar.
That's close.
But they were only together for a
One season.
Yeah, but Jamar
And
was like
Jettas
a
was
freshman.
and
That
Jettas
was a
freshman,
conversation,
yeah.
though. That was a
Oh,
conversation.
you're saying
no,
Jamar, yeah.
That was a conversation.
Yeah, some
that
guys
season.
are just like
But
different.
Jamar Chase is a different level of prospect than anyone on the Ohio State team is. Even Jackson, and I don't know how you say his last name. It's like a Nick
Ajabo
or
something,
Ajabo,
yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're not wrong.
That's
But
the
Chris
only thing that
Olave is
worries
really
me.
good though.
He's solid. He's fast as hell.
I don't know if he's wide receiver 1. Like I'm talking about, like just projecting him into the NFL. Like he can be that, but I think he's gonna be a really good vertical threat for sure.
It's exciting for sure.
So before we go on to our next segment, a quick word from DraftKings. You can bet $5 on any team to win and get $200 in free bets. You can play free. $250,000 in prizes you can potentially win. If you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code TBPN, bet $5 on any college hoops team to win and get $200 in free bets if they do. If they win, you win with promo code TBPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook. 21 plus, restrictions apply, and if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER. Now, March Madness is coming up soon. You know, are you guys making your brackets?
Yes, and speaking
Of
of
course I'm gonna
basketball,
make it.
Celtics up 16 on the Hornets. JT with 44. It's a regular Wednesday night for me, honestly.
Man. What about Jalen? Please tell me he's doing well.
15, 5, and 5.
Okay, that's great. What's his field goal percentage?
I don't know.
Sorry, fantasy purposes.
So
I
what
gotta care.
team are you betting on? Is your betting favorite for March Madness?
I'll tell you what. I'm rooting for Duke solely for
K?
Coach K. Literally solely for Coach K.
They're gonna lose. They're frauds.
I hope not. I only say that because of the post conference that he had after the game. He was disappointed with the fact that they lost in his last game at home, and they were not supposed to lose that game by any means. But just the way that he spoke to the crowd, just the way that he is now carrying a chip on his shoulder the rest of the season, he understands this is his last ride. He wants to go out with a bang. No doubt I want to see Coach K bring it all home.
Have they announced the seeding yet?
No.
I don't think so. I'm going with Gonzaga though,
Zaga?
with Chet.
Okay.
He's not a fraud? He's like that?
Chet is good. Hell
I'm
yeah.
going with Seton Hall.
Chet is good.
We're screwed, bro.
Going with Seton Hall.
We're screwed.
I wonder
Why are
what
you
seed we're
screwed?
gonna
Why are
be.
they screwed?
We're just not as good as the rest of the teams.
We're not. We're not.
Shout out Roden,
Never
but
know.
let's be real. Miles
made
Kale,
all these first
Seton Hall
team.
legend.
I can't. Oh, Roden made all East first team. Or Big
Rightfully,
East first
yeah,
team.
rightfully so. He's
Yeah.
a beast.
He's a bucket. He's a bucket for sure.
You can use promo code TBPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, and yeah, help us out. I mean, it helps us
Sir.
out a lot over here.
No doubt.
Shout out
no
to
doubt.
DraftKings.
Shout
Now,
out to DraftKings.
Eagles off season. On to the next team. Eagles off season. They were 9-8 this past season. They have Rodney McLeod, Anthony Harris, Derek Barnett, Steven Nelson, and Ryan Kerrigan as key free agents. They have $21.53 million in cap space, 10 picks, 3 on day one, 3 first-round picks. That's huge. Now, not to toot my own horn or anything, but this was the team I said was going to be the surprise, one of the surprise teams in the
Because
NFL.
of Jalen Hurts.
And the Eagles, no, not because Jalen Hurts, because the
I
team was
remember
just all around
specifically because of Jalen Hurts.
No.
You said he could be a top 18
You
quarterback.
said he could be
and
better
that's
than
gonna
Lamar.
No, I didn't. I said Hurts was going to be a top 18 quarterback, but I also said they have a top 10 offensive and defensive line. Their secondary got better, and Devontae Smith fills that wide receiver role. So,
Was their
listen,
defensive line great this season?
yeah, it was pretty good. Yep.
Burnett's free agent. Fletcher's always just doing his
Josh
thing.
Sweat's better, though.
Yeah.
Derek
Sweat.
Barnett.
Yeah. Sweat's. Facts.
Look, I think the Eagles have the potential to really set themselves apart from every team in the NFC East this offseason. 3 picks in the first round. I mean, for me, they have picks 15, 16, and 19. It's really close to each other. They can get a lot of good players here. Look at George Karlaftis. They need an edge presence. Chris Olave at receiver. Drake London. Jameson Williams with Devontae Smith. And now Hurts, that Alabama connection, even though they didn't play together. Derek Stingley. What if they can take a flyer on him with one of these picks, who's a very talented corner. Now you have Avonte Maddox, Darius Slay, and Stingley. That's great. Trent McDuffie, Andrew Booth, Jermaine Johnson, David Ojabo. I mean,
for sure.
There's so many options here. If I was the Eagles, though, I think I'm taking a waiver on 2 players and getting one solidified one. I'm drafting George Karlaftis.
Mm-hmm.
I'm drafting Derek Stingley, and I'm drafting Jameson Williams.
Stingley, you think he's going to be there?
I think Stingley could fall a bit.
He could fall to 5th. I think he can really fall, to be honest.
Would you trade these 2 first picks to move up or no?
No.
I think this draft has so much depth that you don't have to move on.
All right. Okay.
That's why I think the Eagles are out of all of the teams, being in that middle of the first round, having those 3 picks with the draft class that has no consensus, and you could just take your guy, like, it may be number 1 on someone else's board, 4 on yours. So whoever you want is going to fall. It's going to be a good player and not that much worse than the guys that are going in the top 10.
It's going to be exciting. No doubt about it. You look at the Eagles. Why? Because you're out on the Eagles, or are you just being annoying? But you're too much. But the 15-16 back-to-back is very, very interesting to me, because now interesting in the best way possible, because either way you shake it, you get your guy. You don't have to worry about you taking the wrong guy and then you wait your next pick for your actual pick.
Another Jalen Reagor situation.
Yeah, that would be worst case scenario without a doubt. But now this wide receiver class is to a point where you should not miss on your guy. Treylon Burks could be there. A Drake London could end up falling there to match nicely with a Devonta Smith. I doubt they go double wide receiver. That would not be something that I would advise. But in this scenario, would it be the worst thing if these top guys fall? And at 19, you go and you take your edge rush. You go and you take your corner if you need it. If Jameson Williams is there and Drake London's there or Treylon Burks is there, that 15-16 would be very intriguing, where maybe you don't go double wide receiver with that back-to-back, but you go wide receiver, defensive edge rush. You go wide receiver, cornerback if a Stingley is there. And then at 19, you could possibly get another stud wide receiver too. In my opinion, you want to surround Hurts with talent on the offensive side of the ball. He lacked weapons this season. Devonta Smith is great. I think he can be great.
He didn't lack weapons.
It was Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, and
who?
Dallas Goedert and Devontae Smith is good enough, though.
Not at this point.
Like I agree if you say, like, you can add something more.
For sure.
But to say he lacked, like Matt Ryan lacked. That's who lacked. He lacked.
Because Calvin really got our mental health.
You're right, but yeah, he lacked.
I don't know.
And especially this was
Cordero Patterson, Kyle Pitts.
Cordero Patterson is not as good as anybody that I named. He's not as good as Devontae or Goddard. Is he as good as Miles Sanders?
He might be as good. Yes.
I mean,
he had a better season.
I know it's so tough.
I mean, Cordero's a running back. No, he's not even a receiver.
Now he's
a running back.
No, what is a wide back? Yeah, he's a wide back.
Yeah, I mean, he played running back though. He didn't really like.
I know.
They signed Mike Davis and it just never happened.
But are you out on the double wide receiver? Like I think you need to.
The wrong guy. You know how I feel.
I think they need to get a receiver, but I don't think they lack
double wide receiver. They lacked weapons. Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert, those are your best weapons. But that's an issue.
Now you add to Treylon Burke, you add a Jameson Williams or a Drake London. This gets interesting.
You have a rookie Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert, who's a top 7-6 tight end. Like
Devontae Smith just set the record for most yards by.
He had a really good year. He led the team in receptions, yards, and touchdowns
for sure.
900 something yards.
But it's never a bad thing to surround your starting quarterback.
You're right, but I feel like for the Eagles specifically, they were a run first team, bro. They were run heavy all day.
That's the only thing I push back on is, do you need to double up a receiver if you're going to be a run heavy team?
And I think Jalen Hurts.
It gets tough for me because I don't know if that translates to winning specifically.
There are two types of quarterbacks.
Baltimore's done it.
Where's their Super Bowl? Where's their multiple playoff wins?
Where's
I understand.
Super Bowl?
Agree.
Yeah.
There are two type of quarterbacks that
when I was run first and they didn't win the Super Bowl.
I talk about quarterbacks, there are two type of categories that I put them in.
NFC champ again.
Yes, I understand that
NFC
it can
championship
get you there
twice.
But ultimately, you need your quarterback to be that guy.
Yes.
And Jalen Hurts, I don't know if he is that guy. You believe he's that guy, which is fine. But wouldn't you rather him be in a position where he has weapons on the outside? Multiple.
I think if you have Devontae Smith, one more receiver, and Dallas Goedert, that's good. And you get or some sort of Jamison Crowder, Emmanuel to play that wide receiver 3, and you have Rager and Ward or whoever else, Quez Watkins, to be backups. I think that's good enough.
Listen,
and use that other first-round pick on defense.
Quarterbacks fall into two categories. You make your guys better. You don't make your guys better. Jalen Hurts right now is in the second category where he doesn't make guys better.
Unfortunately.
His receivers did not benefit from his play.
Didn't Devontae Smith just have the best Eagles wide receiver rookie season of all time?
He was one of their
because he was their only weapon.
But I don't think.
Shocker.
I don't think.
Didn't you just say that enough weapons?
I don't think Quez Watkins is bad though.
I think he's so average.
He's just fast. That's really what it is.
He can have a lot of production if he's with a quarterback that's accurate.
God, this is all
Jalen Hurts completed 61% of his passes, bro.
Oh man.
Are you serious?
I am out on Jalen as a passer. I
just don't understand how you could say he doesn't make the people around him better when Devontae Smith just had the best season any Eagles receiver had. He had 950 yards, the most touchdowns on the team.
Let's be real. We're talking about Devontae Smith.
He's a stud.
Correct, but let's not say that it's because of Jalen Hurts.
I'm not saying it's because of him. I'm saying you can't say he made Devontae Smith worse or Devontae Smith would have been like he had a great season as a rookie.
Smith has he had the best receiving season in college football history before he went to the Eagles.
He was great. And Kyle Pitts with your guy Matt Ryan had like 70 more yards than Devontae Smith.
You were out on Tua. However, Jalen Waddle broke the record for receptions by a rookie. But that's my point. Listen, you're out on Tua. However, we're still high on Hurts.
I think Hurts has a better arm and he's mobile.
Better arm, but even still, his number one receiver was not near as good as Waddle was.
Waddle's better than Devontae Smith.
So you're double dipping on receiver and
all right, listen, I don't disagree fully, but Devontae Smith still has that.
No, he's a stud. Don't get me wrong. This is nothing against Devontae Smith. Mm-hmm. I just see what Waddle can do with the ball with Devontae Smith. There's a little difference there.
All right, interesting. Okay,
so
fine.
This is so you're double dipping at receiver.
No, I would take one. I wouldn't hate taking two, but I agree. If you're going to be a run first team, take one receiver. Now you have two really good outside receivers. You have Dallas Goedert to go over the middle of the field and some complementary pieces like the Quez Watkins or the Greg Wards or whoever, and sign a veteran, Emmanuel, Jamison Crowder, to fill that slot role. I just think they have other needs other than receiver. They need one for sure, without a doubt. But you look at the rest of their team, they need another cornerback. Slay was
that's what I'm saying. If you guys think Sting is going to fall, Stingley would be one of those double picks for sure.
Slay was phenomenal. He was the fourth best corner according to PFF. But behind him, Steven Nelson's a free agent. Vontae Maddox played pretty well in the slot, but it was really his first good season in a few years. Free agency, unless they go with, if they want to address it there. They have some money, about $17 million. So if they want to get like a
20.
Deontay Jackson or Rasul Douglas, but I think linebacker is also a need, as well as safety and edge. Like they have multiple needs that I don't think you need a double dip at receiver.
So in my opinion, I feel like the Eagles have a chance to regress defensively next season. Their linebackers, they don't have linebackers. Their defensive line, they need an edge presence opposite of Josh Sweat. Brandon Graham's getting older. They need another corner, and both their safeties are free agents right now.
Yes.
So because of that, I feel like
McLeod's 32. Even if you bring him back, you need someone.
I feel like you look at the corners in just free agency. Xavier Rhodes, who was coached under Jonathan Gannon in Indianapolis, that wouldn't be too bad. You got DJ Reed from Seattle, Sidney Jones from Seattle, Rasul Douglas, a reunion could be in play, and at safety. Like I wouldn't rule out Marcus May going to Indianapolis.
I think Quandre Diggs, who played with Darius Slay in Detroit, makes a lot of sense.
Diggs would be really good in Philadelphia. I think that would be really good.
And I think Edge is. I think we discussed. I think Edge is definitely a need too. Sweat had a really good season, but even still, they had 29 sacks, which was the second fewest in the NFL. So they definitely need to get another guy in this class. Has a plethora of edge guys. I feel like
with their first pick in the well, it doesn't matter. They have the 15th and 16th pick, so they're gonna pick like
either way. It doesn't matter. Each other. Correct.
They got to go edge. So, like, whether it's Jermaine Johnson or George Karlaftis or David Ojabo, like, they got to go edge and solidify that position.
Trayvon Walker, someone I like a lot, too.
Trayvon Walker's good, too. I like him a lot. But, yeah, I think that's what the Eagles have to do this offseason, and they have potential to be the best team in the NFC East if they have a fantastic one.
Here's someone that could be the best team in the NFC East as well. Here we go.
God. You want to throw money on that?
No.
The New York Giants finished the season 4-13. But there's optimism, right? Because, they signed Brian Daboll to be the new head coach, which is always a good thing. Brian Daboll helped develop Josh Allen, and that's what he's credited for. Helped build an offense around him. But right now, there's a big rumor swirling around, right?
Shout out to you.
Mitch Trubisky is in play to go to the Giants.
No, thank you.
And he might compete with Daniel Jones to be their starting quarterback. I mean, it might be one of those two guys. They declined Daniel Jones' fifth-year option, so, who knows? Brian Daboll might not be sold on him. So I'm going to ask you guys this question. And I asked Drew this on a basketball pod not too long ago. Mitch Trubisky might be a New York Giant. And if he competes with Daniel Jones in camp, who's going to win that competition? And who's going to be the Giants starting quarterback next season? You guys know I think it's going to be Mitch Trubisky. I think he's better than Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones is kind of your guy, so I'm curious.
How is he better than him? In what sense?
Takes care of the ball better.
That's it. That's legitimately
that's
it.
one of the
hugest
things.
That's
takes
like
care,
maybe
takes
the
care
number
in
one
the sense
trait.
like he fumbles the ball. Like that's
and throws
it.
interceptions.
He scaled back on the interceptions.
Correct.
He did.
Correct. And I think that he has a more exciting arm, and with the legs, they're just listen. It's basically the same. And honestly, Daniel Jones is a little bit more exciting.
He has more straight line speed. I think Trubisky's more like twitchy.
Correct. Fine. However, when it comes to throwing the football, I am taking Daniel Jones. Taking care of the football, shake your hand right now. You're right. Let's be real. He fumbles the ball a lot. Interceptions this season, he didn't play that much. But regardless, he has taken back since the start of his NFL career. I think that you bring in Trubisky, it's an unnecessary quarterback competition.
You can't have Mike Glennon be your backup. No way.
Okay, fine. I agree with that.
Said unnecessary.
No, in terms of
like
being
Daniel
the backup.
Jones isn't one of the worst starting quarterbacks.
Yeah, come on.
He needs comp, bro.
If anything, that'll push him.
Enough of that. He's one of the worst starting quarterbacks.
He is.
When we were
That's a fact.
speaking early this past season, of him taking great strides in his game.
But it didn't happen.
Is there more than like seven quarterbacks that are without a doubt better than Daniel Jones or worse?
Worse than him?
Yeah.
There's 20 quarterbacks without a doubt that are better than Daniel Jones.
Would you say 20?
20.
That's what I'm saying. Like he's ranking in the mid-20s in terms of
right
starting
now
quarterbacks.
he hasn't been put in a situation to be
tier 4. We're going to year 4.
Yeah,
going into year 4.
Yeah, but even still, has he been put in a situation that he's been put in? Excuse me.
Yes,
has he been put in a situation?
But I heard this about Darnold. I heard this about Mitch.
Please don't.
I heard this about Wentz.
Mitch was in a position to be successful. That's enough.
All I'm saying, like I'm kind of over is the situation good when it's year 4 for a quarterback?
But the Giants legitimately, he leaves the field. He misses time. They become the worst team in the NFL.
That's what I'm saying. You need someone other than Mike Glennon because Mike Glennon's garbage.
You're 100% right, and I was wrong for that assessment. You need a backup, at least a comparable one. But to say that Daniel Jones shouldn't be the day one starter right now, where you have not,
you think he's earned the right to be the starter without a doubt and not even have an open competition?
The fact that he even kept them afloat when he was on the field,
it was 1-4.
Again, to keep them afloat in the sense of they were
competitive.
They were competitive. You can listen. That's a cute stat to make to laugh on, sure. But regardless of that fact, you can still be in games. The record's ass, sure, but you can still be in games.
That Washington game,
bro, versus Atlanta, he wet the bed though. They should have beat Atlanta.
That was the overtime game. Saquon went nuts. Beat me in fantasy. Hate to see it.
Regardless, like was that on him or was that on
the
defense?
So you're going with Daniel Jones?
Yes.
Then?
Yes. If that wasn't obvious, I mean, I just went on a whole spiel about it.
God, I was not prepared for this question. I don't know which way, because I look at Daniel Jones, and if you're the Giants who have a new front office, have a new coaching staff, you're not as tied or committed to him as the previous one was, right? You weren't the one that spent a first-round pick, number 6 overall on Daniel Jones, and then you bring Mitch Trubisky, who has experience in Daboll's offense. It wouldn't shock me if Trubisky won the quarterback battle because he's going to take better care of the ball. I think he's going to make better decisions overall. Daniel Jones still has more potential and more upside, which makes me think that in camp, even if they're close to the same, that the coaching staff is going to side with Daniel Jones because he is at least someone who was drafted after Mitch. I know Mitch was also the 2nd overall pick. He was a highly drafted prospect too. But I think Daniel Jones and the guys in the locker room are going to side with him, so that makes me lean Daniel Jones. But I mean, like they're both not good.
I mean, listen,
so I'm not
worst
ecstatic
case-
about either.
Worst case scenario that's going to happen is that Jones wins it and then loses it by like week 5.
That's
not
what I
happening.
also
It's
think.
not
I
happening.
think you could go with Daniel Jones and then bring in Trubisky rather
So
than
long
the other way
as
around.
his weapons are healthy, we saw it with Sterling Shepard when he was on
Kenny
the field.
but Kenny Galladay has not been able to stay healthy for like 3 years.
I'm with you.
Saquon, same thing,
Stop it.
bro.
It was a freak injury.
It's always a freak injury though.
No, this
bro,
was
it's
a
been
freak
like 3 freak
But
injuries.
this was a freak
The ACL
injury.
was too.
But okay, but you're being unfair to him.
But when you have 2 freak injuries, how freak is it?
dude, he was backpedaling. He
it was
sprained
so
his
weird.
ankle.
It was so weird. I get it.
And
but
he tore his ACL.
but
That's
it's-
really.
But
come
it's happened.
on,
I know,
bro.
but those are 2 big injuries that's been in the last
I
3
guess.
years.
A big injury is a right ankle sprain.
How many games was he out
missed
for?
3 games.
And then he wasn't the same. I mean, he wasn't great before, except the Atlanta game.
Listen, he wasn't great because the scheme is you stack 8 against Saquon Barkley.
But how is
when
that
the
gonna be
quarterback's
different
Matt
this year?
Glennon. If Daniel Jones is on the
But
field, you
Daniel Jones is on the
automatically
field, and
can't stack 8.
Saquon wasn't great, except
That's
the
wrong.
Atlanta game.
That's wrong.
The Atlanta
That's
game, he
wrong.
was great.
Dallas, he was fine. No, I'm sorry, not Dallas. Against the Saints, he was really good as well.
Am I getting those games?
He was
Which
good.
game? Which game was the long reception? Was
The
that
Saints.
the Saints?
The
I'm thinking
Saints.
that was the Atlanta because it was both in a dome.
So listen, the Giants are kind of in a hole here. They have minus $10 million in cap
they're poor.
space.
They're poor.
They have free agents in Nate Soldier, who he can walk.
Adios.
Kyle Rudolph is probably going to walk. Evan Ingram, I would bring back. You know, I
think they already cut Kyle.
Kyle Rudolph, okay. Jabril Peppers, Will Hernandez, Danny Shelton, Lorenzo Carter. If it's me, I'm bringing back Lorenzo Carter and Evan Ingram. Everybody else can kind of go. There's been a lot of fuss about James Bradbury and whether or not they should cut him. Like, they'd save $12 million if they cut him. In my opinion, they should cut him. James Bradbury had one season.
Great season.
One outlier season with the Giants last season where he was a good to great corner. This year, he fell off tremendously. And you look at the year before he was with the Giants with the Panthers, he was what he was this past season, which means to me that this is who you can count on him being. He's not an elite number 1 corner. He's just not. Because of that, I would cut him. Blake Martinez is also a huge cap hit, but I think
they're going to restructure.
I feel like Blake Martinez is he's a pivotal part of what they do. I think he'll stay.
I'm with you.
Sterling Shepard, I think, is going to get cut. I think he's going to
That's your guy.
Mistake.
I think
Him and Daniel Jones have a connection.
Horrible
for sure.
mistake.
I think they'd save $5 million doing so. I'm a big Sterling Shepard fan, but I think them having Galladay, Slayton, Tony, having 2 picks within the top 10 so they can maybe draft a receiver.
Kills me to see him get as much
The
opportunity.
Galladay contract is bad. So bad.
You know, they can do without Sterling, I believe. But they need edge, they need corner, they need tight, they need right. They need to fix the right side
they need
of their
interior line.
offensive lineman. I think Nick Gates is okay. He got injured last year. He was okay.
His pass block was bad.
Shane LeMahieu and Andrew Thomas, the left side of the offensive line is fine.
I'm with you.
So they have the 5th and 7th pick in the draft. If it's me, I'm going Evan Neal or Ike Nkwonu, Charles Cross.
You're not thinking Tyler?
Not
Linderbaum,
that
not
high.
a 7.
Not that
Yeah.
high.
Okay.
I will say this, though. I wouldn't be shocked if the Giants took Sauce at 5.
I wouldn't be upset.
I think Sauce Gardner, if they cut James Bradbury, it makes a lot of sense to then draft Sauce so he's your number 1 corner. Adoree Jackson had a good year last year. So now you have Sauce and Adoree. I think that makes their defense pretty formidable. And if Brian Dable can get the best out of Mitch in this offense, then the Giants can compete. Like, they can compete.
Gates' pass grade was bad. It was in the 50s. I understand.
And Shane LeMahieu played 1 game, and he was good. But even still, in 2020, bro, he was literally the last ranked guard in the entire NFL.
No,
What's funny? Did I say his name?
It's just funny. He played 1 game.
He played 1 game.
Who was it against?
It was week 1. Who they play? I don't know. And he was a 5th round pick. It's not like he was this highly touted
forget
guy.
him. Yeah, they need an offensive line, bro.
Their interior ranked dead last in unit pass block grade. They need to completely overhaul it, but I agree. They're not taking Linderbaum at 5 or 7. Doesn't really make any sense.
5
now.
I agree with you.
But
I don't think they go
if
Linderbaum,
Neal-
but
What's
7,
the difference between 5 and 7 though?
It's not.
Sauce might not be there at 7.
I think you need someone because Neal or Icky could play guard. So they could take him, play him at tackle, but they also need him to play guard. Then it makes more sense. The Linderbaum's not popping out to other tackle position.
Daniel Jeremiah in his mock draft had the Giants going with receiver at 7, Drake London.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that? What do you guys think about them going receiver?
That feels similar to what they have in Kenny Galladay already. But a downfield stretch, someone with the big body.
If I'm the Giants, you absolutely need an O-lineman.
Are you guys taking the third tackle? Are you taking a Charles Cross, someone who could, is a really good pass blocker, but he's probably a bit of a... I mean, I don't know. I've seen some boards with Charles Cross. PFF has him as the 5th ranked.
You think Icky and Neal are both gone at that pick? It's possible, I guess.
The way it's looking, it feels like it's more likely that Icky will be gone than Neal over these last, couple weeks. Mm-hmm. I feel stronger that Icky might even go before him, Mm-hmm. But I think they could address interior line in the second round. Someone, what's his name?
No, they need to fix the defense.
Zion Johnson or Kenyon Green. They both have flexibility to play guard. They play guard and tackle, I want to say. They just haven't played center. I believe Kenyon Green had the most bench reps at the combine.
I'm going to be honest. If I'm New York, I'm trying to trade back and just get more picks in this draft.
I don't hate that either. Because, they have linebacker is another need. I know they're getting Blake Martinez back, but they were the 3rd grade unit. They're not going to... Blake? That's your guy.
Blake.
That's your guy.
Yeah, he's good. I like Blake.
They're not probably going to spend... I don't see them paying up for a Devontae Campbell or this one of these big inside linebackers. Not there's a lot, but someone in the second round, possibly an edge as well. They were the 4th lowest.
But they have a star there. They have Leonard Williams.
Yeah.
Kayvon Thibodeau at 5, I don't hate also.
Yeah, for sure.
If they went Kayvon... Or if they went Sauce and then Kayvon at 7, that's probably best case.
Their interior is solid with Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence. That is as firm. And Aziz had a good year. He had 8 sacks. Lorenzo Carter, I believe, was second with 5, but they were still bottom 10 in sacks. They need another edge press.
I feel like if the Giants fans, if they don't draft an offensive line, they're going to go
nuts.
They're going to be
go
upset.
Crazy.
And I feel as if Icky and Neal are both gone, then it makes sense. But if one of those two guys are available...
There's a lot of people high on Charles Cross just because he played at Mississippi State and air raid offense, so he's a really good pass protector.
Okay.
But I feel like there's been a lot... I've seen him as high as number 5 on PFF, but I've seen him in the 20s as well. So there's a...
I wouldn't mind Cross either. I feel like, me personally, I'd go offensive line, defensive player, whether that be defensive line or a cornerback.
I think they could go best player available at both spots.
Do you think Sauce would be there at 7?
I think if Sauce there at 5, they should take Sauce.
You think Cross would be there at 7?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. All right, fine.
Is Carolina picking at 6?
Let me look real fast. I'm blanking off the top of my head.
I want to say Carolina's picking at 6. They could go O-line too. I think the Giants also need receiver.
I think Carolina 100% goes O-line.
Yeah, and Cross could go at 6 then.
Yeah,
they might be screwed. They might take Sauce or Cross
because Carolina does not need a corner. Excuse me.
So I know what you're saying. Yeah, so they could go tackle, assume they pass up on him, and but still Gilmore's a free agent. Deontay Jackson's a free agent.
You still just drafted Horn top 10.
You did. That's true. So maybe don't use a premium pick, but I do think they need receiver because Kenny Galladay can't stay healthy and it's a bad contract. They want to get off that ASAP. Tony has been explosive, but again, his first year wasn't able to stay healthy. We're talking about cutting Sterling Shepard, and now you're looking at Slayton and who? Receiver, I think.
You're right.
I think Sauce, a tackle, and a receiver. 2 of those 3, I think that's where they should go at 5 or 7.
Yeah, I agree. On to the next division, the NFC West. We're going to talk about the Rams first. Now, the Rams, we know they won the Super Bowl. Great all-around team performance. It was just amazing.
Matt Stafford was just insane.
Oh, yeah, he was good. He was pretty good.
God
I think Matt Stafford was really good.
3 comeback wins in
he's
games.
been a great quarterback, though.
Interesting.
You know that.
Interesting you say that.
He's been a great quarterback.
Sure.
I showed you the clip from 2 years ago.
Interesting you say that, man.
Before the show.
It's all right. You're a pancake.
But, no.
A pancake?
Flip-flops.
No, I'm a crepe.
I haven't heard of that one. A burger?
I'm a crepe.
Flipping burgers?
Crepe. You are so foolish.
Listen, the Rams this offseason, free agents, Von Miller, Darius Williams, Sony Michel, Austin Corbett, OBJ, Brian Allen, their center, Joseph Noteboom, who filled in for Andrew Whitworth one game in the playoffs,
and awesome.
Sebastian Joseph Day. Now, they have minus $13.74 million in cap space. Andrew Whitworth could save them $17 million if he decides to retire, which is probably a possibility.
They don't want that, though, I bet.
A'Shawn Robinson could save them $5 to $7 million if they cut him. Really now, good. What do you think the Rams should do this offseason? There's been reports floating around of Aaron Donald recently. It's been reported that He wants to be the highest paid defensive player in football. Matthew Stafford, the Rams are working on a contract that might make Matthew Stafford one of the higher paid quarterbacks in the NFL at $40 to $45 million a season. So with all these things going on, I mean, what do the Rams do this offseason?
Your guy Von Miller, he's kind of a hoe.
Why?
He's flirting with Broncos. He's flirting with the Rams, with Aaron Donald, with Stafford. He's just over there being like, oh, you take me. No, you take me. I'm going to put this on Instagram, that on Instagram. He's kind of been a hoe.
Wait, he's posted stuff about the Rams too?
On the Broncos, definitely. And they were talking about the Rams too. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but he's definitely talked about him and Donald both coming back.
Really?
Yes.
Really? Because I've seen on Instagram him wanting to come back home. And when Russ got traded to us, there was a picture that he put up with the "What's Next" song by Drake. Listen, man, he's coming back home. He's coming back home. He's not a hoe.
He is a bit of a hoe. But the Rams, this preview has been kind of the easiest because they don't really have draft picks. They don't really have money. So the biggest thing to me is they have to re-sign their guys, right? I don't know. In terms of like who they should prioritize, I think Von Miller for sure has to be up there.
Really?
I think,
with the way that Leonard Floyd played, do you think it's a necessary, like...
You can never have too many edge rushers.
Fair enough.
You know, with him and Leonard Floyd, and then you have Donald in the interior.
Fair.
I think Corbett and Brian Allen getting both of their offensive linemen back is going to be really important because that's
going to be hard for them to do.
It's going to be hard to get all of these guys back for sure. It's just... The team is still predicated. It's still Sean McVay's system, so it's going to be zone run. And you need to have... We kind of discussed this with Hackett. When you don't have an electric running back, or at least Cam Akers has kind of... He looked good against Arizona, played some good defenses, didn't look as great. So if you don't have that elite running back, even though I do think Akers could still be pretty damn good, not as good as Javonte, I think you need to prioritize offensive line a little bit more. And then the second or maybe the lower tier priority would be Odell and Darius Williams. They're important to bring back. I think if you have Robert Woods completely healthy, maybe you could look for a veteran or someone who's cheaper because even Odell, he comes back, he's probably not going to be ready week one. It sounds like his second torn, or his ACL that's been torn for a second time now, they're expecting to take a little bit longer than usual. So even if he comes back and, you know, you expect him to come back week 7, 8, 9, then it's going to be hard to just put, I guess they did it last year. They kind of put him in the system mid-season, but coming off injury, it's going to be a bit difficult.
And it's going to be a similar system. He's going to know how to play it. And I think it'll be a 1-year contract, so it won't be that expensive.
It would be. That's why you don't have to prioritize Odell because I don't think there's going to be as many suitors for him to. You know, I think Odell wants to be back in LA and LA wants Odell back. I don't think a lot of teams are going to be going out of their way to sign Odell. He's going to get a 1-year deal.
Look at the way he played. I think that teams are looking at that and saying, man, he's box office.
But you also have to think you're probably not getting him till midway in the season.
That's fair. That's the point where
you have all these other receivers out there, the draft,
Correct.
that I don't think it's going to be this huge, you know, rush to go and sign Odell.
At this point in time, sure, he's 29 years old. That's fair.
Listen, the Rams are in a position to where their roster could be a little way different than it was past season.
A little way different. Which way?
Because if Von Miller doesn't come back and Sebastian Joseph Day doesn't come back and, you know, Austin Corbett or they lose Brian Allen, I mean, that's huge. It's huge. It's huge. And it's going to be like Matthew Stafford kind of has to do a bit more next season, which he's capable of doing. There's no doubt about it.
I'm shocked.
Breaking news.
I'm interested.
Breaking news.
I mean, I've never called Stafford like some game manager quarterback. I don't know why this is breaking news. I've always known
breaking news. You giving him praise.
Matthew Stafford's a nice dude. He has a nice smile, and I think that he the benefit of the Rams going out and trading for Matthew Stafford as opposed to like keeping Jared Goff is that they can lose some of these guys and they can be contenders still because Matthew Stafford can elevate the team, and offensively they're going to be fine. Now,
guy knows it. I see that smirk automatically. I know in his head. He knows.
Now, I think their biggest needs are at guard, inside linebacker, and corner if they're losing Darius Williams. These are some like potential cheap options. You know, Laurent Duvernay is like an option. Dennis Kelly, tackle. Dante Fowler, he could come back to the Rams. He can be an edge rusher, like just a rotational guy. I wouldn't rule out Casey Hayward Jr., somebody coming off of a year, of a redemption year.
I think he played too good. He's going to want.
You're right, but I think he's also like, I want to win, and he could go to the Rams and probably win and ring chase. Daquan Jones, nose tackle, who used to play for the Titans. I don't think this past season he did, but he was. I'm forgetting which team he played for. I think it was like the Seahawks or something like that. And then I wouldn't be shocked if they make a run at Cordero Patterson. I wouldn't.
Interesting. Why Cordero of all people?
That's a nice. I haven't thought.
I
of that.
feel like Cordero Patterson, for one, he can be the running back.
But you don't think Cam Akers, they're going to the season thinking we gotta rock
I
with
feel
this
like
guy?
how the Rams run their offense, they kind of like rotate 2-3 running backs.
Is
But
Darrell
they-
Henderson free agent?
No, but
Yeah.
he's also not that good.
Disagree.
He was not that good this season, bro.
Disagree.
Even when he got the work, he had like a couple of good games,
Let's
but
be
he
honest,
got
he
he got
wasn't-
injured again. Second year in a row, he's getting hurt.
I'm fine. I agree with that.
So Daquan Jones played for the Panthers.
He was pretty damn good in that Bengals game. He showed to be their best receiving option. Like Darrell Henderson,
He has games here and there, but
no. He was very good this season when he had the
maybe
opportunity.
to start the year, the first month or so, but down like second month on, like they brought Sony and Sony took his job,
because he got hurt.
and he couldn't take it back because Sony was playing better than him.
No, because let's be real. The Rams were in a position where whoever you put in that backfield was going to have success. And then when they went into the postseason and they played defenses that actually had good run stoppers, they all struggled. Not just one of them. They all
You're
did,
right. You're
outside
right.
of Darrell Henderson.
But I think Cordero Patterson, you look at, I feel like the Falcons might not have enough money to pay him. And I don't think he's going to command a lot. I think $5 million a year can get you Cordero Patterson. I think other teams might be scared off because they're like, we're not going to know how to use him like Arthur Smith did. Sean McVay in this offense, I think Cordero Patterson could really fit well. And just corners, like taking a flyer on Jason Verrett or signing Rasul Douglas or maybe a DJ Reed. Those are all options. I feel like they need a corner opposite of Jalen Ramsey for me to feel comfortable with their secondary. Their safeties are okay. Their corners, Darius Williams in 2020 was really good. He fell off this past season. I don't think he's coming back. I think the Rams brought him back this past year because they're like, we're going to see if he can replicate that. He didn't. I don't think they bring him back, so they're going to probably have to get a corner. They have 7 picks on day 3. So that's
Williams wasn't that bad in the Super
yeah.
Bowl, I don't believe.
I'm just talking about for the season.
Just in general?
Yeah, just in
Henderson
general.
was better than I remembered.
Yes.
He was solid.
He was solid. Very.
Yeah.
Which is why I say it's not essential for them to go. Like, I understand what you're saying, especially with McVay and the way that he is able to maneuver his personnel. But Darrell Henderson played perfectly fine. And you pair that with the change of pace of Cam Akers, that's more than fine with me.
Yeah, maybe they could bring Sony back.
And you don't have to pay any money.
Yeah.
Sony, fair. For the depth, I'll take it, but
Don't really want Jake Funk in case one of the other two guys get hurt.
fair, but
Both
you
have
need,
injury
2
history.
guys are fine.
Yeah.
2
Both
guys are
have.
fine.
What do you guys think about them picking up another receiver? You have Robert Woods coming up torn ACL, Odell tearing his ACL in the Super Bowl.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all.
Because, I mean, they're Van Jefferson and Tutu Atwell. I'm not really big fans of either of them.
But Van played fine in his role, especially with the fact that
I
he's
don't
a deep
want.
threat.
I know, but I don't want.
One
if
of
I
them
have
to get
Robert,
hurt and he's
yes,
your 2.
exactly. Like Robert Woods, who's coming off torn ACL, and Odell, who's not going to be ready to start the season. I don't need one injury, and I'm starting Van Jefferson from wide receiver
But
2.
who are we looking at in terms of wide receiver 2s right now that's affordable?
A couple names I had were Fuller, Crowder, and Sammy Watkins. Cheap guys, but who would
Fuller is very intriguing, especially with the fact that if he stays healthy, that upside's more than what you know what I'm saying? I'm definitely interested, excuse me. But I'm looking at these names of guys that would be affordable. Those are the only names, really. Emmanuel, at this point, I'm not interested in.
DJ Chark is
T.Y.
someone
Hilton,
cool.
someone I'm not interested in.
Yeah.
DJ Chark's interesting, but
They've been talking
Emmanuel's
about
free agent.
Amari.
Cooper? To the Rams?
They crack me
Are you-
up, man.
Bro, if they do that, they're nuts. They're just so rich. It really has gone to that point. I don't doubt it. But the thing is, it's going to be
Amari
tough.
would take a pay cut.
That's-
He'd have to take
that's-
less money than if he went to a Jets, a Patriots.
Because you mentioned it early on, right as you were starting.
And then
They're
you would have
making-
to like make the decision that I'm going to go play with Stafford over like a guy like
Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. He's closing his eyes and he's making that decision respectfully, boys.
And he's also like got to realize that he might be the number 2 or 3 option on that team.
You know what's interesting about that? I feel like that would open his game up a little bit more.
No, it would.
I don't want him to go New England, but New England seems like the perfect fit for me.
I think Allen Robinson's probably going to go to New England, truthfully.
Why? Why over Amari?
Because I've been seeing reports that they're really trying to get Allen Robinson in the building.
Amari would be my number 1 target if I was. I would try to
For
get
sure.
both of them.
But let's be real. At least Allen Robinson, aside from this past season where he did get hurt, but it seemed as if to a point where he just wasn't
They kind of
involved as
phased
much.
him off the offense.
Correct.
Yeah, he had like 60 targets.
At this point, he's been one of the more durable wide receivers in the league. He had the torn ACL, but outside of that, he really has been very durable.
Amari hasn't missed a ton of games. I think he missed one game last year.
This past season?
Yeah.
I feel like he was in and out of the lineup. Not in and out like he...
Yeah, he never missed...
He had injuries. He had lingering injuries.
And to start the season as well. But then week 1, he went out and put up like ridiculous game. And it was never even replicated that or came close to.
Yeah. I mean, the Rams, we don't have to go too much in depth with them because they don't have much money to make moves.
Yeah, they don't have many moves.
But the interesting thing about it, just to go off what you were saying about them potentially bringing in Cooper, how would it get done when you're making Aaron Donald the highest paid defensive player in the league?
It would be difficult.
You have Matthew Stafford, who you're probably going to end up paying $30 to $40 million a season. Let's be real. That's probably going to be the number. How are you going to be able to finesse this?
And you want to bring Vaughn back. You want to bring Odell back.
Think about it. When's Cooper going to be a free agent, right? You're going to let him walk?
Yeah.
Or you're going to... It depends on how his production goes over these next few seasons, but how can you expect him to fall from the grace of God?
I would guess Amari's not going to get... do you think he's gonna get like this 4-year long-term deal?
Mm-hmm, but he's still young enough where you would contemplate giving him a 2-year.
I think that would be more on Amari saying that I will take a cheaper contract, a 1 to 2 year deal, try to win a Super Bowl.
Is Amari a 1-year contract from here on out type receiver?
No, I think if he goes to New England,
I agree.
I think if he goes to New England or the Jets, like they would give him a multi-year deal with plenty of money.
I'm with you there.
Jets could get out of Corey Davis's contract.
But
next
do you
year.
think
Just give me
Cooper?
Amari instead.
This is really just a personal question, which there's really no real answer. But do we think that Cooper is going to be that type of gamer where he wants to join a Packers, where he wants to join a Rams, where he wants to join one of these contenders, or do we think he's fixated on this money?
He got it back from Dallas, 5 years, $100 million.
But Dallas wasn't all
guaranteed.
It's not guaranteed.
I know it's not guaranteed, but he's gotten a good amount of money so far in his career.
I'm with you there, but Dallas was also in a way better, not a way better spot, but in a spot where they were going to be put in a position to win. So it was on top of I'm getting paid, I'm still going to be competing for a Super Bowl potentially.
He didn't choose Dallas though.
He got traded, but he signed an extension.
But he signed the extension. He chose them.
I mean, what are you going to do? You don't sign it; they just franchise tag you.
Also true.
Fair enough.
And they probably also had some sort of communication before he got traded saying, hey, do you want to, re-sign with us?
Nah. That's not how it went down.
Nah, I wouldn't. I was actually on the call with Jerry Jones. So
you better stop talking shit about Zach Wilson, man.
Who talks shit about Zach Wilson?
I'm playing. On to the next team. We had a debate about Kyler Murray last time on the podcast, and I know that, pretty easily I was the one who made a lot of valid points about it.
Invalid. Yes. I think that's still correct
invalid
word.
Is the word.
Yeah.
Look, you guys are very high.
And empty.
You guys are very high on.
Kind of rude.
You guys are super high on Kyler Murray. You guys are also. I don't know how high you are on Arizona as a team. They have negative cap space right now by $813,000. Chandler Jones, Zach Ertz, AJ Green, Max Williams, James Conner, Christian Kirk, Chase Edmonds, Robert Alford, who was their highest graded corner this past season. I mean, what do you want them to do? I mean, you're the Kyler fanatic here. Like you said it last show, like you're the OG Kyler guy. And you've been talking about how Kyler's this like game-changing guy, all this, all that.
He's phenomenal.
He's one of the better guys. Cool. He's such a great leader. He's better than Lamar. You think he's better than Lamar? Whatever. That's what you think.
Eyes closed. Kyler.
So what do the Cardinals do this offseason to make sure that Kyler proves to everybody that who you think he is,
I think I would like them to bring in just one more weapon. Doesn't need to be an Excalibur type weapon. Bring in someone in. Just and opposite
not
DeAndre
bring
Hopkins.
Back Christian Kirk.
And AJ Green, they're both free agents.
AJ Green can go.
Christian, good for them.
Because the opportunity was presented to him, where he had to be the number one option. He had to be forced these passes.
As a second option, he was really good, though.
He was okay. I feel like Christian Kirk was better. And
he was.
I would, if I had the option between the two, I probably would lean Kirk. But even still, I don't know what type of money Christian Kirk's going to want. How much money do you think would you be willing to give him?
10.
Are you giving him 10? Will Fuller got 10.
Yeah.
Damn,
that's
AJ
fair.
had 848 yards, though.
He had a solid year.
How many games did he play? 17?
He might have played.
If he played less than 17, good season.
He played 16, started 9.
The starting is interesting because Christian Kirk's the number 2, so
starting doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So regardless of that, I think the main primary focus needs to be defense, secondary specifically. You lost past Pete last year. You really were lost at cornerback. You guys were doing fine to start the season because your pass rush was so great. Chandler Jones, J.J. Watt really held it down. J.J. Watt went down. It was a lot on Chandler Jones. Golden was also very good for them as well. Was leading the league in sacks at one point in time until obviously T.J. Watt and Myles Garrett happened, and Nick Bosa. Reality hit. Corner was definitely a hole for them. So I'm looking at them to to address that cornerback position. I don't know if it's going to be to sign one or draft one, but they need to bring in corners into this team. Inside linemen, I also think that that's a need for them as well. Kyler Murray does a lot with scrambling with his legs and extending plays, and that's a credit to him, but you want him not doing that because we see these past 2 seasons where he has hurt his ankle on scrambling plays. You need to protect his pocket. You need to definitely make sure that he is in a secure space because he is the franchise. He is the most important person on this team. But if I'm the Cardinals with pick 23, I'm going with corner. Trent McDuffie, I'm looking at Roger McCreary. These are guys that at pick 23, it's reasonable that they are there. They need to bring someone in. You can't have Murphy be your only cornerback. And let's be real, he's good. He's not great. Budda Baker is great, for sure. But he's the only piece on this secondary that I'm looking at that is of anything worth talking about. I feel like you need to address that. And the Cardinals will be all right. Look at what they did early in the season when Kyler was healthy and DeAndre Hopkins were healthy. They were the best team in the NFC, record-wise at least. 8-1. They were fantastic. They were playing fantastic football. The offense that they were running was working wonders. They could do no wrong offensively. Then the injuries started to take a toll. And then we start to see it take a toll in their record. I think they need to fix defense. Offensively, I'm not too concerned about so long as DeAndre Hopkins is healthy. Because DeAndre Hopkins is what makes this offense go. DeAndre Hopkins is, when healthy, a top 5 receiver at the worst. And let's be honest, he's closer to 1 than he is to 5. He's that talented.
Still?
It's DeAndre Hopkins. You got to respect him. He still had, 8, 9 touchdowns this season?
Closer to 5 than 1. You're saying Kupp, Jettas, Tay, Jamar. He's definitely over those guys.
Are you taking Jettas or D-Hop healthy?
Jettas.
Wow, man. That's so rude.
He has the most yards in the NFL these last 2 years.
He's
he was
amazing.
a rookie and a second-year player.
He is amazing, yes. I'm not saying Jettas isn't amazing because we're talking about the top 5 here.
It's no disrespect to Hop.
No, it's not. But it is also DeAndre Hopkins.
I think these receivers are stepping up and he's kind of cooling down.
Jettas and Hop is a conversation I can have. Yes.
Is Hopkins leaving his prime, would you say?
He's entering the back part of it, sure.
Entering the back part's a very nice way to say he's ending his prime.
It's unfortunate because even this season, let's say this is his last year of his prime.
He was a huge tight end. The yards weren't there this year. It was all touchdowns.
But it was also deep touchdowns as well. Like it was from 30, 25
I know, but
yards.
His yards weren't there. He was just getting touchdown after touchdown, which not taken
really
away.
You didn't need the yards, really. You needed the touchdown threat.
All the other great receivers got yards.
To a degree, I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, you needed that touchdown threat. And that's what he was. He had, 8 touchdowns, 9 touchdowns in 6 games?
Yes.
He was unbelievable.
Listen, I think...
And you saw clearly in the offense. I'm sorry, King. You saw clearly in the offense when he was on the field and he was out the field. It's night and day.
Listen, it's not is Hopkins good. Is it he's top? We're saying is he still the elite of the elite?
Correct. But is he still the elite of the elite? Yes.
He's closer to 5 than 1 to me for sure.
I know. That was a strong statement of me to make. But even still, I think that you have to respect DeAndre Hopkins.
Next year, who do you think is going to be better, Chase or Hop?
Next year, at the end of next season... That's a conversation I can have as well. However,
it's going to be Chase. It's going to be Chase.
That boy Jamar is crazy. He's crazy.
Now we're looking at him being 6.
Because what did Jamar have? 14 and 13 this season?
He had more than 1,400 because he broke Jetta's record.
I think it was 1450, something like that.
It was a little over 14.
But go ahead, King.
Arizona is going to regress next season. The fact that they started out 8-1 and didn't win this division is embarrassing.
Speaks volumes on the Rams.
It's embarrassing. It speaks volume on also Cliff Kingsbury's second half collapse. Also, Kyler Murray's second half collapse. Like, he plays worse in the second half of the season. Kind of like Russ. Like, Russ has had that trend these past couple of years. I think that's just
more on the offensive philosophy and scheme more than anything.
And also a funny thing, just a side note. In 2020, when the whole slogan was let Russ cook in Seattle, he was cooking in the first half of the season.
That's been the story of his career.
But then something he didn't like about the offense that he wanted to change, he kind of basically was like, hey, I want more say in the offense. And it got worse in the second half. Just disclaimer, second half Russell Wilson's a real thing. But, on to Arizona. I just think that they're going to regress next season. You look at all these free agents they have.
They have a ton.
Christian Kirk, I don't know why you want them to keep him because, he's not good. Kyler Murray just made him. So he could just make somebody else, I think, right,
He'd be the cheapest option, really.
But, no, in all seriousness, you look at the people.
And the answer is yes. Don't even hit me with that, bro. Christian Kirk is okay. He's really okay.
He had 84 yards.
A Jag, big Jag, right?
Came.
Right, Joel? That's what it's called? Jag? Just a guy?
Just a guy.
That's him.
So cuts they can make. DJ Humphries would say $15 million, but DJ Humphries has been their best, left tackle, and they can't release him. Justin Pugh, though they can save $9.8 million. Jordan Phillips $4 million. Devon Kennard about $5 million, and they just released Jordan Hicks today, which saved them about $6.5 million. So they can make these cuts and open up some cap space. I feel like some free agents they can get, Akeem Hicks from Chicago, would really, fit their defensive line. Hassan Reddick, reuniting him back in Arizona.
I like that.
He had a career season before he went to Carolina. Calais Campbell, I wouldn't rule him out. Sidney Jones, or even if they don't want a high-end guy, Tim Settle, the defensive tackle from Washington, he didn't get much opportunity there because, they have a stacked defensive line, but Tim Settle is a really good player, and maybe getting a guy like Charvarius Ward, signing him away from Kansas City, and he's a really good corner. They need more help on the defense. I think their offensive line needs help as well. They don't have a tight end. Arizona has so many holes.
Zach Ertz, free agent.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Max Williams.
And both their running backs, Connor and Edmonds.
Really? Connor's a free agent? Oh, God.
Arizona has so many holes, and I think their defense next year isn't going to be very good. I think their offense is going to take a step back. If I were them, if Jameson Williams is there at 23, I take him, and I don't look back.
I don't hate that.
I think Jameson Williams has a chance to be there at 23, and you have to give Collar another weapon to just have an explosive offense. I think Arizona next year is going to be very similar to like what we've seen from Atlanta since like 2017 and what we saw from the Saints like in the mid 2010s, where like their offenses can be electric, but their defense is going to like get scored on and stuff like that. J.J. Watt is always injured. You really can't count on him to stay healthy. Isaiah Simmons and Zaven Collins, they have been disappointments at this point.
Unfortunately, true.
Isaiah Simmons more. Like Isaiah Simmons was supposed to be what we're calling Kyle Hamilton now. Yeah. He was supposed to be a surefire prospect, no bust written over at all, and he's been a disappointment.
He did fall in the draft, though. I feel like
he went top 10, I want to say.
He did, but I felt as if he was supposed to go like top 3 lock, and he just kept falling and falling and falling and fell into Arizona's lap.
I want to say he went like.
Let me remember. Let me look it up. I don't
think he fell that much.
But I remember the hype behind Isaiah.
Yes.
Yeah, like Arizona to me just has so many holes, and I don't know how they'll fix them, but I think just best case scenario right now is just loading up on offense and giving Collar as much help as you can get.
Yeah, that makes sense. They could also restructure a few guys like Hop, J.J. Watt, Budda Baker, Rodney Hudson to free up some more money. But I agree. I think similar to the Rams, their top priority should probably be getting their guys back, right? I think re-signing Christian Kirk, definitely James Conner, who had a great season. Chandler Jones is probably my number one priority, being able to get him back as he's still one of the best edge rushers in the NFL. But corner is a huge need for them, and they don't really have anyone on this roster who shouts number one corner to me. They had Robert Alford play this year, his first time playing since 2018. If they are able to free up some money, maybe they go with the big spend and go after a guy like a J.C. Jackson or a Dante Jackson or Gilmore on a 1-year deal. Maybe any of these veterans who want to go and compete for a playoff spot and a championship as well. So I still think corner is their number one need, but they have a few other needs. I think interior offensive line is really still a big need, even though they went and traded for Rodney Hudson. Unfortunately for them, Hudson probably had the worst season of his career. He was ranked as the 31st best center according to PFF. Max Garcia is kind of just a guy, especially with Justin Pugh as well. Not top half guards in the NFL, an area that could be improved on. I'd like Kenyon Green a lot for them, possibly in the second round. He's a guy I think I mentioned earlier. He could play guard or tackle, so they have flexibility, which obviously a lot of teams covet. Interior defensive linemen, too. While they have two great edge rushers, if they do bring back Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt, the interior definitely needs some work. Akeem Hicks was a guy I wrote down who I think makes a lot of sense. Someone who can get after the quarterback. In 9 games, he had 9 quarterback hits, 3.5 sacks, but also give him versatility to be able to stuff the run. And lastly, I have 2 other positions, actually. Wide receiver, as you guys mentioned. Rondell Moore's second-round pick, someone I was high on, who is really electric with the ball in his hands, but he's 5'7" and 180 pounds. I don't know if that's someone you're going to be able to rely on to really be a number 2, maybe a number 3 receiver in the league. You just don't see a lot of guys who are 5'7" and having long careers in the NFL. So that was a guy Kyler Murray wanted. He called the front office, said get him from Purdue, had It was ridiculous rookies or freshman season when at Purdue he had like 1,200 yards at 18 years old, where he was just ridiculous, which made me think that it would translate to the NFL. Unfortunately, it hasn't to this part. But in round 2, I think a guy like Justin Ross or George Pickens, 2 big body receivers who are athletic, big catch radiuses, can go down the field. Those are 2 guys I like. And then lastly is running back. They have Connor and Edmonds. Both are going to be set to free agents. If I had to bring one back, it would be James Conner, who really rejuvenated his career in Arizona. He didn't lead the league in touchdowns, but was number 2. Had a great season, could catch the ball as well. And then probably pair him. I heard today that the Buccaneers are going to let Ronald Jones and Fournette both test free agency. I think getting either of those guys to pair with Conner makes a lot of sense.
You know, I was just thinking about the Cardinals and the receiver situation. I mean, they've whiffed on a lot of receivers. Andy Isabella. I think Rondale Moore, he's a gadget guy. To me, that's a whiff, though. I don't think he's going to be like
for a second-round pick.
You know, I think that's a whiff. And
it's still year 1. It could happen.
And Hakeem Butler.
He was like he was like 6'4", ran like a 4.4, just super athletic, but just never panned out.
I thought it was going to be good.
I did too.
Yeah, but Cardinals got a lot of decisions to make. On to the 49ers now. You know, 49ers to me were the team that should have made the Super Bowl. I feel like, you know.
I bet.
What's wrong with you?
They didn't make it because Jimmy G got hurt. It's unfortunate. If he wasn't hurt,
you're such an excuse.
He would have outdueled Stafford. He would have won. I know that.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, Jimmy Garoppolo, man, he look.
Because if Garoppolo's known for anything, it's being the best quarterback.
Oh, for sure.
In all seriousness, though, I think Jimmy Garoppolo was great for them this past season. Even though you could say like they made it in spite of him, I would lean.
Great is nuts.
Holy hell!
Maybe for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
If you're comparing Garoppolo to Garoppolo.
Look, enough of Garoppolo. Let's stop talking about him. I don't know why you guys brought him up. Nah, I don't know why you guys brought him up.
Talking about the Niners.
So Trey Lance, this is probably like the beginning of the Trey Lance era, right? And to begin the Trey Lance era, the 49ers will have $3.5 million in cap space. And a lot of key free agents like Laken Tomlinson, DJ Jones, K'Wan Williams, Jaquiski Tartt, Arden Key, Maurice Hurst, Tom Compton, Raheem Mostert. But if they trade or cut Jimmy G, they save $25.5 million. D Ford saves them $7 million. Tarvarius Moore saves them $1 million. And Samson Ebukam saves them $6.5 million. So they can free up like $40 million in cap space to re-sign who they want and also get a big-time guy. Now, I tweeted this today, and I'm under the assumption that the 49ers are going to sign a big-time corner in free agency.
JC would be crazy in San Fran.
It could be J.C. Jackson. Mm-hmm. It could be Stephon Gilmore. It could be Carl Davis.
Like it?
I feel like they're going to sign a big-time corner. For sure, they're going to make a big-time splash move. It's going to be a name that we're like, wow, they got him. And I agree. I'm leaning J.C. Jackson. I think J.C. Jackson is a Niner at the start of next season. And that's the position they need the most. They need secondary. They need corners. Because of DeMeco Ryans' scheme, they were able to really hide and mask a lot of the deficiencies there. And I don't think they're going to be able to replicate that. I think teams are going to catch on to it.
Having a great pass rush is going to help, though.
You're right. And they have a great one. Yeah, they have Nick Bosa. They have Eric Armstead. They have Javon Kinlaw. I think they should bring back DJ Jones. He was awesome for them. But you don't need D Ford. I think their linebackers with Warner and Greenlaw are fine. Jimmy Ward is one of the better safeties in the league. Jaquiski Tartt, I like him a lot, but after he dropped that interception, he can go. Because of that, look, I think they're going to sign a big-time corner. They need a big-time corner, and I think it's going to be J.C. Jackson.
I think they also bring back Laken Tomlinson. I feel like that's essential as well.
Priority.
You bring in the big splash, like you mentioned, in a J.C. Jackson. I feel like that would be huge for them. No doubt the cornerback is their weakest position where they had to change their scheme in order to play defense. What was it? They were playing a man and they had to switch to a zone because their secondary was so bad, but the pass rush allowed them to play this zone and be successful in their secondary.
They played cover 3 like so much, like 70% of the time.
So I think Laken Thompson would be huge to bring back too, especially if you're going to have Trey Lance be your guy. You don't want to already put him in year one and there's holes on the offensive line. You have Trent Williams, who is the best offensive lineman in the NFL by far. That's going to be already off the bat great for him. However, you bring in Laken Tomlinson just to ensure you secure that enough money. You're going to have enough money, to bring him back. This guy. I'm sorry. I think that would be a priority of mine. You want to ensure you still have one of the better offensive lines in the NFL, especially with a young quarterback. Now, in terms of other needs for them, I really don't see another glaring hole for San Fran. I think as a whole, their team is very complete. Wide receivers, they have it. Whatever you want to say about Ayuk, I think he's a solid wide receiver 2 option. You have, excuse me, oh my goodness, Deebo Samuel. I can't believe I just blanked on his name. Crazy. This guy is one of the top 5 talents in the league at the wide receiver position. Deebo Samuel, one of the most electric wide backs, the most electric wide back, for being honest. He just invented the position. And you have George Kittle, who's a top two tight end in the league, arguably the best blocking tight end in the league at that, and that only just benefits the offensive line more. And then in the backfield, Elijah Mitchell was fantastic for them. I don't think they'll bring back Raheem Mostert. Doesn't seem essential. He can't seem to stay on the field. However, I will give Raheem Mostert his credit. When he's on the field, he's nice.
Yeah,
he is very good.
He's ridiculous.
Unfortunately, he really is.
Mitchell came in and took that job, though. He's not giving it up.
Now, question, though. If he's healthy going into training camp, and he has a great training camp.
It's Mitchell. Mitchell's job. I think without a doubt.
Nah, it's Raheem Mostert, I think.
Without a doubt.
If he's healthy, bro.
Be real. Look at what Raheem Mostert did in that 2020 season down the stretch. He was the key to them getting to
He's also like 31.
No, he's not.
Bro, I think he's approaching, maybe not 30, maybe he's approaching 30.
He's close to 30, correct. But you're not giving him a ridiculous contract. And imagine.
They extended him last.
He's 29.
Even still.
When's his birthday?
April 9th.
Oh, he's going to be 30.
Even still at 30, he's still fast as sin.
Yes, he is.
But I agree with you. Elijah Mitchell, you just took him in the 6th round. You're going to have him 3 more years.
He's really good.
At minimal money, for sure.
In the playoffs, he had 220 yards and 4 touchdowns against Green Bay.
That's what I'm saying. Raheem was crazy.
I know. We're talking, 3 years ago now?
No, that was 2 seasons ago.
No, you're right. 3. But look, I think
2 seasons for running backs a ton.
Look, I think Elijah Mitchell, it's his job. I think it's his job.
I think it's Elijah Mitchell's job too.
No,
I don't think Shanahan's he just gives him so much work and just trusts him so much. And he fumbled, I think, once on like 300 carries or whatever it was, which
it was 2 times.
So how much?
Now
another question, because they're going to have to extend Deebo Samuel soon. Do they go out of their way and extend Deebo now, or do you think they're just going to franchise tag him?
I think they're going to do everything they can to extend him. I don't think they want to play with the franchise tag.
Which is what I'm saying. Now, we have this $40 million, right? We're talking about them potentially bringing in J.C. Jackson. I feel like we should mutually agree bringing back Langston Tomlinson is a good idea, correct?
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like the only moves they need to make, get a corner.
Correct.
I think
even if it's JC or like a Carl Davis, even if Stephon Gilmore could come in for cheap, get a corner. I would say JC. You can bring back Langston Tomlinson or just get Austin Corbett from the Rams. He's going to be free agent. Either one works. And then I think it's signing one of their defensive linemen back. So whether it's DJ Jones or Arden Key, they were both great for them last season.
Arden Key was 2nd in sacks for them.
Yeah, Arden Key. I think bringing back Arden Key for them, they're going to bring him back.
I think
so. You wouldn't prioritize extending Deebo Samuel?
Maybe not
right now. I don't know if it's like an essential need, but I think right now that's what they just need.
He's going into year 4, year 5,
3.
3. Yeah, I was gonna say 4.
Deebo's been in the league for only 3.
Same as Metcalf, bro.
Yeah, year 3.
So this is going to be year 4.
Yep. It's going to be year 4 for him.
Yeah. It's gonna be year 4. He was a 1st round pick?
No, 2nd.
Okay, so he doesn't have that 5th year option, so maybe they do need
That's what I'm saying.
I haven't heard anything about any extension talks with. I know we
We
low-key have. Not talked, but I remember like seeing it on Instagram about his like potential contract being like 4 years, $80 million. He'll get 20 a year. That's why like Mike's gonna get 20 a year. Like that was a mistake. But I also think interior O-line is something they can improve on. Bringing back Tomlinson's gonna be a big help. But their right guard's a free agent, and he was kind of average. I think someone like Connor Williams from the Cowboys makes sense. He only allowed 1 sack and 13 pressures, had a good PFF grade of 76. And a couple of smaller needs would be edge. If they do leave, if they do let Arden Key go, who is 2nd in sacks, makes a lot of sense to bring someone in. I think receiver makes sense too because you have Deebo, who's had some injury history. Ayuk, who's relatively healthy. I want to say maybe he missed some games. His first year was in the doghouse to start this year off. And then behind him, you have Sheffield and Juwan Jennings, who I believe they're free agents as well.
So he's restricted though. Like Juwan Jennings, they ain't gonna let him go anywhere.
Can I ask you real quick though? You don't think Brandon Ayuk? They're looking at him and they're saying that we don't necessarily need to go out of our way to bring in a wide receiver.
I'm not saying you pay $10 million, but I think getting a veteran, someone that you could pay $5 million for just as depth. And I also think a veteran quarterback. I think Tyrod Taylor would make a ton of sense.
Interesting.
Someone
mind that
behind
either.
Lance, someone
Just
could
a
learn
good
from.
backup.
Yep.
Yeah, that all makes sense. And on to the last team in the NFC West. We're going to talk about the Seattle Seahawks, a team that traded Russell Wilson, and now it seems like they're going into a full rebuild because they also released Bobby Wagner. And, man, right here in my notes, it says they have $36.5 million in cap space. I'm not sure if that increased since the Bobby Wagner.
It's closer to 50.
They have
50 million?
$51 million in free cap.
They have $51 million in free cap. I'm under the assumption that I don't necessarily think the Seahawks are going into a full rebuild. I think they made the Russell Wilson move because they were like, okay, listen, we don't have enough money to sign our players. Like Dwayne Brown, Quadre Diggs, Gerald Everett, Sidney Jones, DJ Reed are all free agents. Those are important players. And for a team like Seattle that's offensive line has struggled, they don't have a great defensive line. They need to bring in players. And now that they have the draft capital that they got from the Denver trade, and now that they have cap space, they can build a great roster to where they're kind of like the new Denver of now we're a quarterback away. And now if Deshaun hits the market, we go and get Deshaun, and now we have a stacked roster with Deshaun, and we can make some noise. So for me, these are their biggest needs. Center, guard, tight end, a wide receiver 3, and an edge rusher. I'm not putting quarterback on here yet. I think, Geno Smith or Drew Lock might be that bridge for the year. Maybe they go out and get a Jameis Winston, though. You never know.
They're about to have the worst quarterback in the NFL.
It's possible.
Tied with Mason Rudolph.
It's possible.
Cute.
But for me, free agent targets are Cedric Wilson, Lorenzo Carter, Jerry Hughes from Buffalo, I think would be a good edge presence. Hassan Reddick also. Offensive lineman, Ben Jones, center from Tennessee. Ben Allen from the Rams center. Ethan Pokic, re-signing him, I think would be a good idea. And just some defensive linemen, Sebastian Joseph Day, Emmanuel Ogba. And in the draft, I think with the 9th pick, you go George Karlaftis or Kayvon if he slips.
Edge makes sense.
Sauce. Kyle Hamilton, if he slips, there's potential there that they could get him. And Tyler Linderbaum, I think, to just have a center or interior offensive lineman, I think that's what they desperately need. But you look at the Seahawks offensively, Chris Carson, DK, Lockett, Noah Fant now.
Can't count on Carson. He has a neck injury. He didn't play at all second half.
Rashad Penny was exciting.
Interesting. DK, Lockett, Fant. They're good there.
Yep.
You look at defensively, outside of
defense is ass.
Jordan Brooks, I love him as a linebacker. I think that's why it was easier to move off from Bobby Wagner because Jordan Brooks was really good. I'm telling you, I don't think their corners are that bad.
They had the 31st worst pass defense.
In terms of DJ Reed's somebody that I think is a good corner. They definitely need to upgrade there, and I think in free agency they can do that. They can sign somebody. Carlton Davis makes a lot of sense. On the defensive line now, they did get Shelby Harris. They need to kind of, build around him and build that defensive line out. And secondary, Jamal Adams, Quadre Diggs. So you have your safeties.
Quadre's a free agent.
I think they'll re-sign him.
Okay.
So Jamal Adams, Quadre Diggs, you have your safeties. Now go out and get a corner, re-sign DJ Reed, get a corner to complement him, get some defensive linemen. I don't think their offense is bad. They could use an offensive lineman or two.
Definitely.
But for the most part, I think they'll be fine, offensively.
Okay.
Outside of the quarterback, of course. Like if they can go out and get a Teddy Bridgewater or Jameis Winston, I think they'll be a mediocre team next year.
But why do you want to be mediocre? Why do you want to win 7 games?
I don't know.
You just
what I mean? Like
you just traded Russ. You just cut Bobby Wagner. To me, this screams full rebuild.
The thing about it, though, like I know what you guys are saying, but the NFL is so much different than like the NBA, where when a team trades everything and they go into full rebuild, like they go into full rebuild in the NBA to like where fans understand we're gonna suck. In the NFL, nobody truly goes into a full rebuild.
Lions?
Like they trade everything.
Jets?
Okay, that's a good point.
Jaguars?
Lions got Jared Goff. He's not one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL.
but they absorbed his contract and got 2 firsts, knowing we're not going to be good. We could take on this dead money.
You're right.
And they have the second pick overall.
You're right.
They were damn bad.
But the Lions were competitive, and now I've called them the best worst team I've seen.
But they were still the
you look at the
second worst team in
Jets.
league.
The Jets, even though we're rebuilding, we've built up a good offensive line. We have our quarterback of the future.
It took you guys a few years to get that.
Yeah,
though.
but I mean, it's because the quarterback didn't pan out. That's really why. Sam didn't pan out.
We rebuilt really. I mean, this team's basically been in a rebuild for like 5 years.
But what I'm saying is that in the NFL, teams don't truly rebuild. I don't know if the Seahawks are going to be like Drew Lock is our day one starter. I think they bring in a veteran like a Jameis or Teddy or maybe like a Fitzpatrick, and they compete. I don't think it's just like, okay, we're going to try to be as bad as we can at the quarterback position.
Yeah.
I don't think they do
Drew
that.
Lock is
Drew Lock, it
bad,
doesn't get much
unfortunately.
worse. He's fourth.
I love that I can trash talk him now.
He's fourth to last in turnover-worthy plays and last in uncatchable pass rate since entering the league. So it really doesn't get much worse than Drew Lock.
He's pretty bad.
Yeah. It would be funny if they get Teddy Bridgewater and they have Teddy and Drew Lock all over again.
Interesting fact also, this is from a tweet I saw from Steven Ruiz, who works for The Ringer as an NFL writer, does amazing work. He actually tweeted, and it was like a diagram of like advanced QB stats.
Are you really going to say this on camera with the Teddy Bridgewater and Russell
Oh,
Wilson?
yeah. It
This
was
guy's unbelievable.
since in the last 2 years, Teddy Bridgewater, like,
It was just last season.
last 2 seasons. He did last 2 seasons. Statistically, advanced stats wise, like Teddy Bridgewater and Russ are like neck and neck, bro.
I'll be honest, I couldn't give one fuck.
No, I'm not saying I'm not saying that it's a fact, but I'm just saying it's pretty funny. So if they get Teddy Bridgewater and let's say they win like
It's
8,
basically like having Russ. That's what you're telling me.
if they get Teddy and they win 8 games, bro, like come on.
Do you think the reports of them interested in being interested in Deshaun are true?
I do.
What would they have to give up, though? A bunch.
The picks they just got.
Exactly.
Like, it'd be such a weird move to
But
trade Russ.
they'd have to give up the picks that we just gave
Basically,
them.
like you'd have to give up those 2 firsts and 2 seconds at a minimum, and probably something more.
I don't think so. I think Russ is worth more than Deshaun.
I think Deshaun's worth. I mean,
No, not off the trials, bro.
Yes, that's true. But if Friday comes, because the only reason a team's trading for Deshaun is if we know for certain one way or another how the case is going to go. If he's free or is found not guilty, he has more value than Russ because he's 25.
You're right.
But to me, it probably makes more sense to go the veteran route. I really don't see the point in obviously if you get Deshaun, right? But like, why don't just keep Russ at that point? I understand having the money to go and re-sign your guys, but if you go and trade for Deshaun, you're taking on a big cap hit, so it's not like you'll be able to get those guys anyway.
Not originally though.
What do you mean?
Because the Texans would take on that dead cap hit,
But Deshaun's cap hit would still be large.
But kind of like the trade when they traded him to Denver, like Denver's only taking on $17 million of that.
Okay, so
like for future years, you're right, but also Deshaun's 25, bro.
Yeah,
like,
and you do it in a
significantly
heartbeat.
younger.
It would just be such a unique trade like we've never really seen before. So I'm predicting at least they go for a veteran, maybe even like someone like Mitch, maybe has some more upside than a guy like Teddy. But I think Teddy makes sense. And we know like Jimmy G would make sense, but he's not happening being in the same division. I think a couple other needs. I mean, they do have a few. I think edge, being a really deep edge class, like we've mentioned multiple times, makes sense. They only had 34 sacks last season, which was not infused in the NFL. Their top pass rushers being Carlos Dunlap, who's over 30 years old, had 8.5 sacks. Interior lineman Rasheem Green had a career high 6.5, and their second round pick, Darrell Taylor, also had 6.5. So they had some guys, they were able to do it, but they still need some more depth there. And it being such a talented class, I think they go that way. I think corner, as you mentioned, is a need. DJ Reed, Sidney Jones, both free agents. Mm-hmm. So at 9, Sauce, Stingley, one of them's definitely going to be there. The way it's moving seems like Sauce has a higher chance going top 5 than 6 to 9. So I don't think Sauce will be there, but Stingley's probably someone you have to consider. They really started that Legion of Boom having those elite corners, and Derek Stingley has that upside to be one of the better corners in the NFL. Offensive line's interesting because Dwayne Brown has been really a solid piece for them, but he's also 36. Mm-hmm. And if they are a team that's looking towards a rebuild, are they going to give him, a decent contract? He's a left tackle, so he's going to demand a decent amount of money. And the expectation is for them to re-sign Patchich too, if that's how you pronounce the name, Ethan. They're starting offensive lineman. Pokic, whatever it is. But they could probably upgrade center if they were interested in like a Ryan Jensen or Ben Jones if they want to go that route. But if Seattle's really going to embrace the rebuild, which makes the most sense to me. You know, if you're trading Russell Wilson, it makes sense to get those picks and really just suck, honestly. Like, maybe you don't let all of these free agent walks. Maybe you let bring in the young guys like the DJ Reeds and the Quandre Diggses. But to me, I would just go rebuild, let some of these older veterans walk, and build through the draft.
Before you go, Drew, I have a thought that I want to get out. What if trading Russell Wilson was strategic by Pete Carroll, and Pete Carroll, they pulled the trigger on this move because Pete Carroll is like, you know what? We're going to trade Wilson. We're going to cut Bobby. We're going to get all this cap space. We're going to sign good players. I'm going to go out and get a quarterback like Teddy Bridgewater and show that I can win games without Russell Wilson.
It'd be a miracle of God. His mind. And I honestly didn't think you were going to go that route. I thought you were going to say, what if at 9 they brought in Malik Willis?
I'll tell you what. The one way to not get better is train an elite quarterback. I can guarantee that.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but I think like from all these reports that have come out about Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson and them not trusting each other, they haven't been able to be on the same page for a long time. I wouldn't put it past Pete Carroll to be like, I'm going to try to prove myself that I can win without Russell Wilson.
Can we be real,
The GM and owner would be fools to believe a 7-year-old Pete Carroll instead of keeping Russell Wilson.
And for how long have we been speaking about Pete Carroll being one of the most overrated head coaches in the NFL? I feel like it's been years at this point.
I think he's old school. I think he is overrated.
All right. I'm glad. And so now, can we entertain the idea of Malik going at 9?
I've seen reports that they're not that interested in
And I've
class.
seen reports that Malik could go as high as 2.
Yeah, that's just...
I don't buy it.
That's just there's nothing else to write about.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. But he has intangibles to be good.
Yeah.
And I still think that if a team needs a quarterback desperately, that they would go that route. Now let's think about it. If they take Willis at 9 and they bring in a Trent Brown to play right tackle, they go and they put money into bringing a Jensen, right? They go and they bring in money to sign a Bryce Callahan. Now, instead of putting your money into spending $20 million on a Teddy Bridgewater, around $20 million, let's say, now you're giving a rookie contract now to Malik, who now you're putting all your chips into that basket to be your franchise quarterback. Now you have money to build your offensive line. Now you have money to spend a little bit on your secondary that was one of the worst statistically in the NFL. That's intriguing to me.
Malik isn't ready to start.
I that's fine. Now you're a year away.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I was with you until you mentioned not getting like a Teddy. I think even if they draft Willis, they get a quarterback.
You have Drew Lock. You can have him start. You don't need to win.
It's not like Geno was terrible.
He wasn't horrible. You know? He wasn't horrible, but he was not the word good. I would even
Neither
say
was Lock.
Exactly. You know? But you just traded for Lock. You know what I'm saying?
But
like, let him be your guy. The thing about
it is that if I know Willis isn't ready, me as a coach, I'm like, okay, let me get a quarterback who's not going to lose the job 3 games in, and that's Drew Lock and Geno. They would lose the job 3. They would lose the job maybe after the 2nd game.
But you know what?
Teddy Bridgewater.
Let's see what we have in Malik. Let's see what he can do with our squad.
Teddy Bridgewater just showed in Denver.
Early, but you spent the 9th pick overall on him in our hypothetical situation.
Teddy Bridgewater just showed in Denver that
he's the 3rd pick on Lance.
But Daniel Jones was the 6th pick, and he still came in.
How'd that work out?
I mean, he played good his rookie season.
How'd that work out now?
Hindsight's 20/20, man.
I mean, I think, but a lot of people thought Daniel Jones at 6 was a reach.
Sure. They wanted him to take Dwayne Haskins.
I'm trying to say,
also a reach.
He's a bum.
Yeah. What I'm trying to say is that Teddy Bridgewater already proved in Denver that he's going to keep the job for the entire season. He's going to play well enough to not lose the job. And I think the Seahawks, if they bring in a Willis, they need stability like that. But Pete Carroll was also, he was videoed with Matt Corral. That's a 2nd-round option. I don't think he's a 1st-rounder. Nah. It's a 2nd-round option.
Interesting.
He's a 2nd-rounder. They could go that route.
They probably need running back, too. Because Carson at this point in his career with the neck injuries.
There's so many running backs. I mean,
and I feel like Rashad Penny, you could still get him for cheap. He only had 1 year, and let's be real, a couple games where he was amazing, but it was a couple of games where he showed something. You could still bring him in for $4 or $5 million.
Yep, agreed.
All right. So that's going to do it for episode 161 of the Pick a Side Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram and on TikTok at Pick a Side Podcast, on Twitter at Pick a Side Pod, and 2 hours and 57 minutes.
This is the shortest football episode maybe since I've been on.
Yeah, because we didn't go on tangents.
Yeah, shocker. We didn't. Are you still friends with us? We're still good?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
You know what?
No, the start of the episode killed me.
No, after this episode, I can.
We're friends again.
I can shake your hands with smiles.
No,
with like
and you know
genuine
what's crazy?
smiles.
I felt the energy after the show. He was like, "Yeah, all right, bro, I
Yeah,
see you."
facts.
He usually when I dab him goodbye, he's like, "Yeah, bro, all right, let me see you, bro." Nah, this one was like, "All right." I was like,
he's like, get the hell out of my crib.
"Heard you, heard you."
All right, so that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. And don't forget to rate and like this video if you made it all the way through. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.